I impact more people. Like
I think so.
She's helped like 20 kids.
I think so. I mean, because anyone can just go to some other country.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Good eye.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Yo!
And we are with the Modern Horrors guys today.
Yay!
Jacob Hopkins and Luke Rodriguez.
How's it going?
Welcome.
Booyah.
Welcome
to you.
Welcome me.
Last time you guys came on here, that was gangbusters,
Yep.
man. That was an awesome episode. It was
We'll
so good.
say y'all's fans were super good to us. We were expecting to come into hostile territory because our little neck of the woods is a little not mainstream, but
We'll say
a lot of love.
We'll say about this podcast, I think we've attracted the people who get the assholiness of the videos.
That's good. Yeah.
But like the general talk about movies, and some I think like the podcast better, which is fine by me.
Fine by me, because that's the real us.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, I was talking to our accountant, you guys know who he is, the other day, and he just happened to mention he'd been listening to a couple of podcasts this week on his drive, and he just loves our chemistry that we did.
Nice.
It sounds like a few friends sitting around talking movies. I'm like, well, that's what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
Except for nights like this, when we bring these two guys in, and
Right.
it throws off the
Gets
dynamic.
a little bit more assholey.
That's right.
a little
That's
bit.
right.
We've actually coined the term assholey.
Yes, we have, and all the
Assholiness.
different terms of asshole.
Can we make
Like,
some T-shirts for that? Assholey.
assholiness, assholitude. All right, so today's basically we're going back to the movie club.
You should join our club. You and your friend.
Now, if you're not going to take this seriously, perhaps we should disband the club now.
I love being a part of things.
We're doing horror movies.
Yeah.
this time. So we're gonna go back to, and we'll just refresh your memory here. We'll be doing best, favorite, underseen, and underrated, or underrated and underseen. You know, because there's an order apparently. Anyway, we're going to be going to the movie club. We're going to be talking with the Modern Horrors about their best, favorite, underrated, and underseen. And man, oh man, we're going to get into some movies you ain't ever fucking heard of.
I can't wait to do this because we've actually been holding off on this horror movie topic until we could get these guys in there because, I mean, yes, we've seen a lot of stuff between the three of us, but these guys are legit with the movie knowledge.
Absolutely. This like in this subgenre of horror movies, you guys have seen you're like when I go out and start talking about like some indie movie or whatever that comes out or whatever, you guys are like that with horror.
Yeah.
And it's like there's like this whole other just division of movies that I'm like, God damn, there's so many fucking movies. I didn't know there was so many.
Good ones too, not
Yeah.
like shitty VOD nonsense. Like some really good indie stuff out there.
Yeah, and it's funny to me. A lot of times you guys will say, you know, you guys got to go watch this movie or whatever, and I'll go to the IMDb and it's got like a 4.7.
Yes.
And I was like,
Average,
man, that's kind of shitty. I hope, but usually they're better than
I know.
4.7.
I know.
You know, so, and that's going to be a theme, I think, throughout all of this, too. There's going to be some in here that people are like, oh, my God, you know, the IMDb, it's going to look like trash.
Yeah.
But do not follow the IMDb on movies like this. I think, especially, and Netflix, don't follow the Netflix rating on
Why
it.
are they so low?
I think Netflix people get people who are just like, you know, they're families and they're just average Joes who are going around clicking on stuff. And they see some movie like, I'll try this out.
Yeah.
And then it's, you know, it's not what they expected. It's not Star Wars. So they're like, you know, it's 1 star.
Yeah,
See, that's what happened when I watched. This is off track. I just saw Nocturnal Animals for the first time the other night. Have you guys seen this?
Yep.
Just came on HBO. That's the only reason I probably would have ever watched it. That movie fucked me up.
Oh, yeah.
That movie did not telegraph what was coming in
No.
terms of. Like, for the first 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, he's a writer, they're divorced, this guy's cheating on him. What the fuck is going on?
There's a lot of crazy shit in that. Anyway, we're interrupting you, Luke. I'm sorry about
it's
that.
all good.
Go for it. Why do you think their ratings are low?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I can't say for everyone, of course, but I think people, for most people, guilty pleasures. You know, horror movies are guilty pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
they don't pay for them all the time. I think horror movies are pirated probably more than anything else, like per capita, I would say. Prime example, a buddy of mine had a movie leak onto the internet prior to release, and so it's got a 3 average on IMDb right now. And none of these motherfuckers should even be able to see it.
Right.
Wow.
So they're voting on it and slamming it when you know goddamn good and well that they stole the movie in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Which is just savage.
That's fucked up.
And recently, I thought IMDb, and I guess there's no way to really police this, but I've learned that some people get on the IMDb and don't even watch the movie and rate it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's a great use of your time.
yeah. I don't think you can rate on a movie that hasn't come out in any capacity,
Right.
but once it comes out, then you got everybody just like, oh yeah, that's a piece of shit. I saw the trailer.
You got to take every bit of that with a grain of salt, because I saw this girl on Reddit the other day. It was like an Ask Me Anything. She's like a teenage author. I just released my own fantasy novel on Amazon. And I click our link over and read the description, and it's got like 0 reviews. And like later in the day, I was like, I wonder how Reddit treated her. Not well, by the way.
It's shocking.
But I went over
Surprise.
back to the Amazon page. It had like 65 reviews. And I'm like, you motherfuckers didn't have time to buy and read this fucking book.
No way.
To give your opinion. You might have bought a chapter and read 3 sentences. So you just got to take all that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's get into it. Let's get into what
get
we
into
think
it.
our best horror movies are. I mean, there's obviously some that are just straight up the best, right? That we can just go ahead and say, like Psycho, probably, like The Shining,
Yep.
Alien.
Those are all like, I think, just already said and done. You know, those are the best. What do we think about those, by the way?
Oh man, I mean, I consider the Shining as the best horror movie of all time, and it's so rewatchable, even though it's fucking long.
It is long.
And there's a lot of like deliberative beats in there, but man, like anytime either it's on, I'll throw it in at least once or twice a year. Like that's just perfection to me. Just the way that Kubrick pulls that off. And it's interesting because in the European version of this, they have some extra things thrown in there, especially when Shelley Duvall is going through the house and it's awakened and all that.
Yep.
They have the shot of the skeletons in there, which people thought was like just kind of hokey.
Yeah,
but
I did.
I thought it was all right.
And when I saw it, I thought it was okay.
When you have it compared to a furry getting a blowjob, I guess, or a furry giving a blowjob.
Yeah. That's right.
Don't get it
Glad we
twisted.
don't qualify that.
Furries need blowjobs too.
That's right.
Furries need blowjobs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
What do you guys think are the greatest of all time?
I mean, the ones we've already mentioned, those are the movies. People all the time, when you run modernhorrors.com, people always ask, like, hey, what old school movies do you think hold up well? And those hold up so fucking well.
Yeah.
Jacob, do you have anything you want to throw out? You want to take any leaps of faith here? There's something crazy out there.
So you just want to hop right into it, just the best.
Give us your best.
What do you
All
got,
right.
buddy?
So I decided, since we are modernhorrors.com, to stick with some modern horrors. So mileage may vary, but fuck it. That's why we're here, right?
Fuck it. That's why we're here.
Train to Busan. Have you guys seen that
I
one?
have not
I
seen
think it's
this.
available on Netflix now. South Korea. Me and Luke love South Korean films, and this is one of the best. I know zombies used to be the hot shit, and it kind of fell off for a little bit. Dare I say, Train to Busan kind of brings that zombie thing back and makes it a little fresher than what you're probably used to seeing.
I've heard nothing but great things about this movie. I can't believe I haven't watched it yet.
It's good. I put it on the queue, man, for sure.
It's because you're racist.
Clearly,
Absolutely.
furry racist, South Korean racist. What's going on, Barrett?
I think Barrett's wearing a
Furriest?
shirt that says, "What's wrong with being white?"
Indeed. If only you can see this. This is why we don't shoot these, by the way.
He thought he was in safe company.
All the propaganda.
I'm lying, by the way. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea.
Yes.
Somebody's in mid SoundCloud comment right
Yeah,
now.
seriously.
Like,
Like,
oh,
wait,
okay,
Barrett's a Nazi this whole time?
Luke, do you have a best that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, I mean, best is probably it's hard to say best.
I
Right?
don't like that word.
Yeah, but actually, I went back and watched Spring again the other night from Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. These guys are fucking phenomenal.
Oh, yeah?
The first movie was Resolution. Their follow-up movie was Spring, and they've got a movie in festivals right now. Chris, you watched it with us called The Endless.
Yes,
which is just
which is
fucking
awesome.
fantastic. These guys are doing things with very small budgets. They're just excellent storytellers, and they have a little bit of horror thrown in as well. Like Spring is the kind of movie to where you watch it, similar to the Endless. You watch it and you're like, well, that wasn't a horror movie. And that's a lot of the stuff that we love so much. Like they're not really quote unquote horror movies, but they're genre.
They got nowhere else to go.
And and we talked about that last year on this podcast about how the DIY nature of a lot of these movies getting made, they have to kind of say they're horror to get a budget sometimes or get released or whatever. And a lot of times you watch it and you're like, yeah, there wasn't very much horror in that at all. But they are sort of a conduit to more interesting films, though,
or at least different ideas that you don't see explored very often in traditional mainstream films, because you gotta have to stick to the bread and butter in that regard. So these guys pretty much have free reign to do whatever the fuck they want, and when you give someone that creative freedom, like, you get something really cool as a result.
Yeah. Like the Endless that you're talking about, is it spoilery to say anything about that movie?
It is.
I feel like, super spoilery.
That's what I was sitting there going. I was like, I want to say what the main thing is, but the main thing is a spoiler.
Yeah, because it's not out yet, and for those people that are familiar with their earlier works, which you should be, just to even mention the plot would give away something.
Right. Yeah. So I won't. Just say, if you run across The Endless, that you should watch it. It's good.
Yes.
There's others that I know that people out there like screaming The Exorcist right now. I've never been a huge fan of The Exorcist.
One of us.
Really?
One of us.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really? It's probably my preacher kid upbringing, but
The Exorcist is the Blade Runner of horror movies for me.
So I'm on an island because I love it.
I've watched The Exorcist about 4 or 5 times.
Really?
And I have never once been scared of it. Never once been like, wow, this is just really putting me in this awful, dreadful mood or anything like that. Maybe it's because as I grew up, I just kind of knew the story before I ever watched it or whatever, so maybe it was all set up by the time I watched.
See, I'm the exact opposite because that movie scared the shit out of me.
Oh yeah,
and it may be because I watched it. I don't want to be flippant about anything I'm about to say, but I watched it at a time in my life where I was religious enough in my upbringing. I was still a kid when I saw this movie, but I believed that kind of shit was real or possible, even though I hadn't seen it in my. The Bible talks about demon possession. Even New Testament Bible talks about it. And so I'm coming up with these stories of Jesus sending the demons into the pigs and they run off the cliff into the water or what have you. Sorry, you didn't know you were going to get a sermon today. So I watched something like this at an impressionable age of 10 or whatever, what have you, and I was like, that woman's up there crawling on the ceiling, and I was just like,
that's not right.
I mean, it obviously is disturbing that this girl who's so sweet and everything, and mom and daughter have this great relationship and everything, suddenly, without warning, is possessed. But I don't know. Maybe it's because of the whole, I know it's not real and I can't feel that it's real. And there's just something that's not translating as well for me.
Yeah, no, I understand. What I don't get is that you love the movie Sorcerer so much, and that...
What does that have to do with it?
Because William Friedkin does have a certain style that I saw in The Exorcist. I watched it maybe last week.
No.
That has kind of like a deliberative pace to it that reminded me, in terms of the pacing and things like that, of Sorcerer.
Sure, as far as technique is concerned,
that's what I'm talking about.
William Friedkin directs the shit out of The Exorcist, but that doesn't make it scary.
Oh, I'm not talking about scary. I'm talking about
that's
good.
What, for me, is what it needs to be. That's what the fucking movie should be. It should be scary to me, and it's not. I mean, I do see why people love The Exorcist so much. But I was about to say, I love William Friedkin movies. And I like The French Connection, and I like Sorcerer. And I see the same kind of techniques in The Exorcist, but I don't. The Exorcist should be scary to me. It should terrify me. It should make me want to run.
I see what you're saying,
and it doesn't.
Yeah, I just think it's well done.
It becomes comical to me almost, even though it's horrifying on screen and everything. And all the stuff that she says, and as she's a demon and everything, the head spinning, the thing that they added back into the other releases where she's like crawling like a spider down the stairs.
Yeah. The crucifix scene is still just
it's gross.
It is.
I'm glad you guys resolved that. I was about to have to leave the room for a second.
Yeah, man, you never know.
It happens all the time. It got tense.
But no, I mean, I was like, where are you going with this? Sorcerer has nothing to fucking do with The Exorcist.
Back the fuck off now, bitch.
Yeah.
I tweeted yesterday or the day before about my wife asking me what that noise was in the kitchen, and my response was, "It's always a cat. It's literally always a cat." And somebody responded, Trevor from Sinister.
Yep.
And I love that joke because we do that every now and then still.
Mm-hmm.
And if people haven't seen the Sinister video or don't remember it, they're probably like, what the fuck is Trevor? What does that have to do
God
with
damn it,
anything?
Trevor.
But
They have no idea.
but I love that there are those out there that get it and throw it back at me.
Yeah.
All right, so we hate The Exorcist except for Barrett.
Yep.
Which is, look, we're the minority on this.
Oh yeah.
The four of us,
Definitely.
Yeah.
we are
Wouldn't
the
be the
minority.
first time.
And there's a lot of people out there who are going, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm dying."
The power of Christ compels you.
Yes, exactly.
We get that a lot. Like, how could you possibly
Well,
love horror movies and hate The Exorcist?
I
Like,
really do think for me it was set up. I think I even saw that Richard Pryor Saturday Night Live sketch before I saw The Exorcist.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Your mother sells socks that smell and all that. I think it had been teed up, and by the time I watched it, it just was more funny to me than it was scary. I wish I could have been back in the day where there was rumors that they put subliminal frames in it and all that.
I'm sure it was incredible back in the day.
Yes.
Like just to hear those words coming out of a little girl's mouth, be like, whoa,
Mhm.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
But we talk about movies like Alien, we talk about movies like The Shining, these things that we can sit down like today in 2017 and still get something out of it, whether it be horrified or just be entertained.
Mhm.
When I sat down with The Exorcist, still today, I don't get either one of those things. Like, if you're not going to scare me, then at least entertain me. And I think it's utterly fucking boring throughout the entire
is slow.
time.
And
It's slow.
it starts off with like archaeological dig.
Which sounds riveting, I
In
know.
its defense, so does Jurassic Park.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I didn't think it that way. All right, so let's get to the meat of our best ones, the ones that maybe people don't think about a lot of times, although they're usually going to be movies that people have heard of, except for Luke and Jacob's. You're
welcome.
Yes, this is why we bring you on, because we need the new perspective.
Mm-hmm. The new shit.
That's right. So
You're not privy to the new shit.
the new shit has come to light, man. So Jacob, Luke, tell us what your best are that we haven't talked about.
All right, so one that we just talked about recently. I think it's going to be one that's really popular for a while. Maybe I'm a little skewed because I love Christmas horror, but better watch out. Tell as old as time, young boy, maybe a little too old to have a babysitter, but he's got a real hot babysitter.
All right, I like it so
Yep,
far.
Tonight's the night he's making his big move. And he sort of does, and you think you know where it's going. At least I did. I was like, I see it. I see where you're going. And it does go there. And I was like, predictable. And then it throws the curveball at me, and it goes to a place I was not ready for.
Sweet.
I was promised this fun ride, and don't get me wrong, it was sort of fun, but god damn, it was intense. It was like
it goes to vagina dentata, right?
No, that's a whole different level of movie there, teeth. But yeah, it was like a green room style intense. I was like, shit, man, I was worn out after the movie was over.
All right.
It's nothing intense, but
It's pretty intense. Don't let him fuck with you.
It is very, very good. Probably one of the year's strongest, I would say.
Oh, yeah?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always gonna go to some weird shit like Martyrs or Inside, both for this like
Some gross stuff.
French extremity, mid 2000s type shit. Like the bread and butter. My first date with my girlfriend ever, I sat her down and I watched Inside, which is one of the most violent and gory and most disgusting movies around. At least violent and disgusting and still be good. Like, anyone can make a violent, nasty movie, but it's just shit. We'll talk about that later.
And with the title of Inside, now like my brain has gone to all sorts of stuff.
So it's all about this woman that gets in a car wreck. This happens in the opening scene, so it's not like a spoiler. Her husband dies, but she's pregnant. Her baby is still okay. It's Christmas night, so Jacob, shout out
right
to the
there,
Christmas
Christmas
horror
time.
movie. So she's getting ready to go to work the next day, and this woman appears outside of her house, and she is hell-bent on removing the fetus from the mother's stomach.
Ooh.
And it goes to some really fucking dark
This was
places.
your first
man.
date?
Yes.
He makes poor decisions.
No, I want to put it all out there.
Well, he
Like,
made
I
it
wanna
sound
make
like
sure-
they're still dating.
Right, they are. It's
Well,
horrible.
maybe he doesn't make poor decisions.
Like, in every little thing that I'm into, all freaky shit, like, here it is. Like, take me as I am.
You're
or
like a
take me
guy,
not at
like
all.
you might as well have been like, I got 3 kids, I've been married 2 times, I got $400 in the bank, and I just lost my job.
She was telling me, like, when we get together, she's like, I go to like some crazy shit like a Kuwait or some shit to do like mission trips and feed starving kids and all this stuff.
What a jerk.
And I was like,
Exactly.
all I could respond to, I looked at her dead in the eye and I said, I make dick jokes on the internet. Like that's what I do. Like I need to know that we're all like just being open and honest.
In your own way, you're both helping the world.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Hers may be a bit more tangible.
I would say more people. I impact more people. Like
I think so.
She's helped like 20 kids.
I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, because anyone can just go to some other country and like scoop some water and throw some mortar on a cinder block and then pat themselves on the back.
Where's her website?
Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
You built a following,
right?
Okay. SinCast team.
Yes.
Who is
Unite.
what are our best movies?
form of a bucket of water.
I'm going to throw out Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Ooh,
because
that's
much
a good one.
Which one?
Yeah, that's a
78 version.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Donald Sutherland
Donald
version, which has
Sutherland.
the all-time, one of the scariest, freakiest all-time final shots. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. Obviously, it's been out there, but it involves Donald Sutherland completely out of nowhere if you haven't seen it, and it gimes me chills even thinking about it.
Oh, holy shit.
But it like we were talking about with Alien, or even really The Shining in a certain context, when you put horror in a different genre, like whether it's sci-fi or something like that, for some reason the stakes are different for me, and it's more unexpected because you're not expecting Alien to necessarily terrify you. You're expecting to like going in to see a sci-fi movie about spaceships and things like that. Same thing with Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like, it's going to be like this alien invasion thing, but you don't expect it to be as creepy as it is. That's awesome.
That's good. I'm going to rattle off 4 movies, but only one of them is my actual answer.
Okay.
But did you see, because I thought about The Sixth Sense, did you see the interview going around yesterday? The headline I saw on Reddit was Kevin Bacon says The Sixth Sense royally fucked Stir of Echoes.
I was like, he's not wrong.
It definitely did.
Because those movies are both, they were near the tip of my tongue for my answer. I think those movies
Stir
are
of
both
Echoes
great.
is better.
Huh? You think?
I'm a Stir of Echoes
I
guy.
love Stir of Echoes. I don't know if I've gone that far, but I love Stir of Echoes. When the movie came out, like a month after Sixth Sense, it was like September or something.
It got way overshadowed.
And all those trailers, like it was over the summer. It was Sixth Sense, Stir of Echoes, Stigmata. All those those trailers were like back to back in every movie that you watch.
I thought about that one in a minute.
Stigmata, nobody has fans.
No,
Thanks for
fuck
that memory. I also kind of want to make an argument that Requiem for a Dream is a horror movie, and the villain is just addiction. But mostly, I just want to sound smart and throw that out. So here I will finally give you my answer and park myself in Chris's corner for the day and say The Thing.
Okay.
John Carpenter.
You're in my corner as well.
Jacob's got you.
Excellent. Well, we're
I
already
love
all
me
three
some
in a row.
Thing, man.
You have talked about it enough. The only reason I ever watched it was because you liked it so much. But it's been running semi-regularly on one of these channels, and I've just been checking it out here and there, and it's really impressive given, I guess, where everybody was in their careers at that state and time, and given that you're largely building suspense out of a lack of a thing, right? It's kind of remarkable. So I'm going to go that one.
And, and the effects in that are good for 1982, I believe, is when it came out. They can be kind of cheesy when you watch it from 2017 and everything, but the idea, it's almost like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where you just don't know who's the villain and everything. And that movie it's perfect suspense and everything. Then they made that stupid remake a few years ago.
Yeah.
Which was it was a prequel to, or was it? It was a prequel.
It was a prequel.
It was a prequel because all the stuff that they find in the original thing is the stuff that happened in the Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Prequel movie that came out. The original thing is great. I had a ton of John Carpenter list down on this, all the stuff that's on this on this list and everything. I've talked about this movie a bunch. The Descent is probably one of the best horror movies.
+1.
The Descent, I was not expecting at all. I did not think that was going to be anything.
It was marketed just straight up, just kind of, a horrific cave movie.
Yeah, people go out and do some spelunking and, monster down there or whatever.
Yeah,
and
so much better.
Surprise!
Yeah, and there's been like a ton of those. I don't know if there were a ton of those at the time, but I know that later on we had, what was that movie we came up?
I'm going to fuck it up
Cave.
again. The Cave.
There was The Cave, and there was So Far, was it?
As Above,
So Below.
Yep.
Ruins.
Yeah, Ruins,
Yeah.
all these type of movies.
I like The Ruins.
It was good.
Yeah, The Ruins is like a surprise.
Those vines coming out of the leg is fucked up, though.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
gave
yeah.
me a nightmare.
Absolutely. But The Descent, I've talked about The Descent quite a bit. It does have jump scares, but it's like what a jump scare it has in it. Very well. I think you can do jump scares as long as they're like, I don't know, they're like not completely expected.
There's that, and it doesn't go super over the top on the silence and then super noise.
Right.
Because I was watching Happy Death Day. I don't want to derail it too much. Happy Death Day is really, really good, but their jump scares, they bring an entire orchestra in to like hit a fucking beat. Yeah. And it's like, okay, like I know I'm gonna be like startled. It's fine.
That was my favorite sound on my Casio keyboard was the orchestra hit.
Well, yeah, they it's telegraphing. They always just do that telegraphing thing, and it's just like, I mean, how more effective would this be if you just didn't do that?
Mm-hmm.
I understand you wanting to get everybody like to anticipate and always like be active watching the movie and everything, but man, it's The Descent's jump scare was one of the best. Like it's one of the few that have made me actually go, whoa, the fuck. It was like, like how James Wan does a lot of his like little tricks where the camera just kind of like focus you in one direction, but like there's the thing that you're not expecting is just kind of like off center from that. But yeah, I love The Descent. I've told the story a few times about that woman who just came out and was just like, oh my God, oh my God, and just ran to the bathroom. She could not take any more of The Descent.
Jeez.
I remember the first time I watched it, I actually, the credits began to roll. I fucking loved it. I texted Jacob immediately. We lived about 45 minutes away at the time. And I was like, dude, I'm coming over. And I'm bringing a movie.
Before VOD and all this shit, and he's just like, yeah, I've got a movie. I'm coming right over. Like, there was not even a question. It's just like, I'm doing it. Be at your house. And, okay. And, well, that's how I first watched The Descent. It was fucking awesome.
Okay, so tangentially related to best, you may have already said what your favorites are, but the favorite category now.
Yeah.
So Luke, Jacob, what are your favorites?
Yeah, so I've got a few here, obviously. I'm going to say Devil's Candy, which is somewhat recent. You guys, I think it's
available on Netflix.
Yep.
I have seen
great
Devil's
band
Candy.
name.
I have seen it. No, I liked it. Yeah, that's a good
saw
movie.
The Devil's Candy?
I did.
The Invitation, which is also on Netflix.
Super
as
good.
well.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to say The Endless, which we talked about a minute ago. Last Shift, a movie that's coming out in just a couple weeks called Dead Shack. It's a Canadian zombie movie where the main characters are children, and they're just foul-mouthed little shits. It's really, really funny.
And for Luke to say a zombie film is in his favorites, a big deal. He adamantly hates zombies.
Yeah.
All right.
Adamantly.
But Dead Shack is really good.
It has nothing to do with the shack.
Not at all.
Okay.
The Invitation's the one where they're having the dinner, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Something's
that's a
off.
good
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah.
I was really not expecting anything out of that movie, and I got the recommendation from you guys, and I think I got it off Netflix or one of those, and man, the ending of that movie is just like jaw dropping to me.
Yeah.
And it's really good. That's a great one.
Yeah. So then Dead Shack is coming out soon, and two more that are coming out soon that you guys keep an eye out for are Night of the Virgin, which is out of Spain. That's a fucked up
That's
movie.
some messed up stuff. It's messed up stuff.
For you to say
title
fucked up movie,
Yeah.
like I wonder what that.
Oh,
Yeah,
put
what's
it
the
on your
bar?
list with your own caution. If you put it on your list, that's your fault.
There's a 6 or 7 minute stretch where my jaw physically got tired from being so wide for so long.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
Like, what the fuck am I watching right now?
Wow.
So that's The Night of the Virgin coming out. I don't think it's got a release date yet, but it should be either late this year or early 2018. And then lastly, our friends over at Black Fawn Films, The Heretics, their new movie's coming out later this year. It's very good. Just creature effects. The whole movie is about a transformation. Instead of like having this climactic scene be a transformation, the whole fucking movie is a transformation. And it's just very, very good.
Modern horrors are so modern that they're telling you about movies in the future.
Yes.
They really are. They really are. Their shit is on point.
That is correct.
So I tried to stay a little more grounded in the present. I actually went back a little bit. I got so many favorites. It was hard. I just picked 3, and these would change if you asked me tomorrow. It would be
We will.
3 different ones. Okay, good. I'm going to look forward to it. I put The Orphanage because Kids Creep Me the Fuck Out, and I love like Spanish kind
Kids
of
creep
horror.
me the fuck out
Right,
too.
yeah, come on.
That was that Guillermo del Toro? He
yeah,
produced it,
like
right?
good, like good Guillermo del Toro shit.
He didn't direct it.
I don't think he did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big sucker for Spanish horror, so I could go on down that.
I'm a
list
big sucker for Spanish horrors too.
Oh, what's
Indeed.
up? Ding,
Indeed.
ding, 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 ding.
That's right.
Rare Exports, because I just said I like Christmas horror. Have you guys seen Rare Exports?
I haven't even seen that one. No.
You haven't even seen Rare Exports.
I haven't even seen Kong Skull Island, dude. Give me a break.
I wasn't gonna bring it up. But I wasn't gonna bring it up. So Rare Exports is Nordic of some sort. I don't want to name the country because I can't think which one it is right now. But it's kind of like, what if Santa Claus was real, but he was more of like a demon, almost like Krampus-esque.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a fun ride. And then Dave Made a Maze.
Oh,
one of
yeah.
mine from this year. It rides in the horror genre just barely.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
if it wasn't so cartoonish with the kills, it
Yeah.
would be very brutal. But it's so, I don't know, like it's like paper mache and yarn
Confetti
and
and
shit.
shit,
Confetti.
yeah.
But dude, what a fun movie. That's one of the most fun movies I've ever watched in a long time.
Absolutely. That's now that is a movie. I've seen it, and like that's a movie that you look at the IMDb and you're like, really? Really? What's wrong with you
Oh, is it
people?
getting hated on?
Oh yeah, of course it is. I believe it's either in the low 6s or high 5s or something like that.
Way better than that.
It might be like 6.7, but it's still like seemed a little bit too low for a movie that's that fun.
It's a 6.2, which for genre is a 10.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
might as well be right. Yeah, might as well
absolutely.
be.
That's the funny thing about when horror movies come out and they do the cinema scores and everything. It's like it gotta be, but that's really good for horror movies.
Yeah, like
you know?
why is that?
Yeah,
you know?
as long as it's not like C, like The Witch got, or F or something like that, like when Mother got. You're good.
Mother.
Yeah, Mother. But all right. So what's our favorites, guys?
I'll give a little bit of love to It.
Yeah?
Because Chris
Knew
and I
It?
saw this. Yeah, Knew It.
Yeah.
Man, that's such a good movie. I've
It
thought
is.
about that movie a lot. And I mentioned it when Chris and I were coming out of it that I think it may be like 15 minutes too long. Like it pads a little bit. But that's a really compelling modern horror film that really surprised me at how good it was. Of course, it got all this great buzz and everything. But yeah, that was very enjoyable. But my main pick is got to be Get Out. Get Out is a movie that I've seen probably 5 times at this point.
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
And
Ooh.
it hits me every time because there's so many levels to that movie. It's so smart. It's funny. The performance that Daniel Kaluuya is fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's just like I can get something out of it every time I watch it.
Still might be my favorite movie this year.
I had both those on my best
Yeah.
list.
So there's an East Coast university this year that, for the first time ever, professors created a black horror film class.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first class period, they talked about Get Out, and Jordan Peele was in the audience.
Oh wow.
Disguised as a student and like pretended to ask a couple questions and then got up and like addressed the class and talked to him and everything. I thought that was
That's
so
so
cool.
cool.
That
Yeah,
guy
not-
is
not
so
to-
intelligent.
Like sound like a dick or anything, but he is one of the most approachable people that I've had the pleasure of meeting so far here. Like he is every bit as responsive as like Joe Blow that directs your like straight to VOD sort of movie that no one's ever heard of. Like,
Hey,
yeah?
I've met some of those guys, and they can be just as big a
Yeah.
cocks. I'm just telling you.
for sure.
But yeah, anytime I've ever reached out or anything, like he doesn't have like a guy that you have to go through or PR or anything, like a direct line of communication. Like he is the coolest motherfucker like around.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
really knows his shit.
Awesome. That's good to
As
hear.
an aside, did you guys ever get a chance to interview him on your?
He was supposed to be on back in March,
Mhm.
but that fell through because he has some other directing shit going on. But he is still on the table.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That'll be
So,
great.
Hopefully, we can time that just right to wherever he has something new to announce, we will do it on.
There you go.
Yeah,
There
man.
you go.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to go with one that I've seen very, very recently. Boo! A Medea Halloween.
Yep. Oh my God, this is a masterpiece.
This is one of the scariest fucking things.
And it comes out of nowhere, right? Like you don't expect it to be that scary.
Well, you said it wrong. It's Boo!
Yeah.
A Medea's Halloween.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that movie is just one big flaming pile of shit.
And you like Tyler Perry too, right?
I do in general. Yeah, I respect
Well,
him.
I think you can respect what he does, but not like the movies he makes.
Right.
And that's me. Like the first, I've seen a lot of Tyler Perry movies. I've
That's-
seen
I'm sorry.
I've seen Why Did I Get Married and Why Did I Get Married 2.
Ooh.
I didn't even know those were things.
TOO.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. It is TOO. A lot of those, but like he found a market that was just not being served.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to make movies for that market.
Yep.
So we know that when we watch Boo and Medea Halloween, that's not our cup of tea.
No, and it's not supposed to be.
And so, yeah, we go full asshole on it.
Still so much flaming dumpster fire worse than I expected.
Absolutely. Well, it doesn't look like many people who actually saw that movie really liked it either. Now, that's a 4.7 on the IMDb.
Yeah,
Which
I'd
is
give it
way too high. A really good movie sitting at 4.7.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, okay, I think I said this last time you guys were on. Of all the five of us in the room, I probably dig on horror the least. And it comes from having seen a couple scary movies like Jaws and The Exorcist when I was too young. And so I stopped taking baths and I didn't want to close my eyes during prayer anymore. And so I think I just kind of developed I don't really like to be scared. So when I do enjoy horror, it usually has a little sci-fi in it or a little comedy in it. Because that, I think, helps trick my subconscious into realizing how unreal it is. And I can just kind of enjoy it. So I wrote down Cabin in the Woods and Tucker and Dale.
Ooh,
Yeah.
two solid
Good
picks.
picks.
And
good
these are
picks.
both movies in this era when goddamn fucking everything is being rebooted and remade. Give me some more Tucker and Dale.
Yes.
Give me a prequel to Cabin in the because they destroyed the world at the end of Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
But give me a prequel and set it somewhere else around the world and one of their attempts to feed the demon before that or something.
did you guys ever watch the Belko Experiment?
I did.
No, he did. I knew somebody did.
I didn't like it.
It was okay, but like the wrap up of the Belko Experiment, where they zoom out and there's all these different TVs where they're doing these experiments around the place, was almost exactly like Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Where like my brain was like, this shit's in the same universe.
Well, and not only does it looks like that, and it looks like there was some other. Oh, it reminded me a little bit of like Maze Runner and shit.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Maze Runner does that type of thing, like you're being watched.
Yeah.
While you play games. You know what? I heard your podcast on that movie, by the way, and you guys got a lot out of it that I didn't. So it might have been something where I was just exhausted while I saw it, which that happens a lot of times. But you guys came up with a really good way of watching that, which is everything that happens in there is like the corporate structure being played out
the
over
corporate hierarchy,
right?
Of, the grunt workers are on the bottom, the CEO guys, the villain and the dick, and everything very much has its own chain of command that they follow, even while organized chaos. And stuff.
And so I really liked that interpretation, and I was like, maybe I should watch that again with a kind of a different light and not so tired and all that. So. That was an interesting one. I was dying to see it when I saw the trailer and everything. There's the pedigree for that movie with James Gunn and all that. I just wanted to see it.
We sprinkle in some intelligence between dick jokes every now and then.
It's true. It's true. My favorite. I've listed two Carpenters on my favorites.
That's okay.
Halloween. I've talked about Halloween a million times.
Oh, the Rob Zombie version? Good call.
Absolutely.
Good
There
call.
was a moment in the Halloween Sins video that I thought was hilarious, where you guys made a sin about the guy on the toilet that was looking at a porn magazine.
Oh yeah, I don't even remember this.
That's the remake.
This is the worst place to get a boner.
Yeah, the original Halloween is great, and but I've talked about Halloween a bunch, but one I don't think I have talked about a bunch is They Live.
Yeah,
They Live is I think it's finally sort of grown a big audience, like a big cult audience over the years. Just the idea that there's all these messages being broadcast to us to tell us how to think and everything, and we don't know what it is unless we wear these special glasses. Carpenter does this weird thing, I don't know what it is. He's got a great sense of let's make this a horror movie, but let's also put a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
type of comedy type stuff. That fight between Roddy Piper and Keith David goes on forever, and it's just put the glasses on. No, I was like, why are you so against putting the glasses on? And they beat each other up for 15 minutes. It takes forever, but It's always just a great concept to think that, much like the Matrix and stuff like that, where your reality isn't exactly what you thought it was. There's something else going on that you didn't know about until somebody unplugs you from the symbiotic goo or whatever the hell it is.
So are you guys on the up and up with the new Halloween movie?
Yeah, I just read that Carpenter's going to score it.
Yeah?
So
it's actually it's Danny McBride and David Gordon Green.
That's it.
And they're making a Halloween movie.
So apparently, whenever it was Blumhouse had this, Jason Blum, his production company Blumhouse, had this entire press conference basically to say, hey, we've got the rights to Halloween. We're going to reboot this shit. Oh, and John Carpenter's on board as a producer. But not like one of those producers that doesn't fucking do anything. He just puts his name on it. Like he's going to be involved in every fucking step of the process. Oh, yeah, and he might score it. And like you were just saying, he's going to score it. But he said something interesting. He's not only going to score it, he's thinking about making an entirely new score.
Ooh.
So the dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yeah,
that might be gone.
Also, I read in that same article, he wrote that shit in 3 goddamn days.
Yeah, so the story is that they made Halloween. They take it to the execs to check it out, and they're like, well, this shit isn't scary. Like, it's not scary at all. He's like, well, fuck. So he takes it home, and he plugs up his synthesizer. He starts banging out a few chords, and like the dun-dun-dun, puts it back, goes to the execs again, and they're like, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, so he's back on board. Danny McBride's writing it with Green. Green's directing. But they have made a decision that they're going to ignore every single Halloween movie other than the first Halloween movie. There was some talk for a while that they were going to take 2 into account, but now they've said that 2 doesn't even exist anymore. So
it's a popular thing to do these days.
Well, what's interesting about that is
retcon.
that in Halloween 2, that's when they said that Michael Myers was Jamie Lee Curtis's brother.
Yeah.
So in this movie, that shit never happened. He's still just a psychopath killing people for some unknown reason, which is very exciting to me.
Interesting.
It is interesting that Danny McBride and David Gordon Green, you instantly don't think horror, right? The thing is, this is a really interesting pairing for this movie, and I think it might go well because if you look at the movies that they've been a part of, like Observe and Report, and this Vice Principals that's on HBO, and Eastbound and Down.
Pineapple Express even.
Yeah, Pineapple Express. Like, you look at some of the stuff that they do, and there is an element a lot of times of some horror, like it's kind of creepy a lot of times. Vice Principals has got a lot of that. Like, they just kind of, it's funny, but there's some things that are make you unsettled.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be an interesting pairing.
From what they say, like everybody wanted this gig whenever they said they had the rights to it. So like Ty West came on board, tried to pitch. Adam Wingard, who did Death Note and The Guest and Blair Witch, he pitched and he didn't get it. Apparently, the only thing that Carpenter wanted was what he saw from McBride and Green. So that has to mean something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, our underrated horror movies. This is where it's going to get fun, guys. You guys are going to come up with some really obscure shit.
I mean, yeah, almost anything we say is going to be in this category.
Right.
So underrated, I'm going to say As Above, So Below, which was mentioned a minute ago, sitting at 25% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, which I thought it was way, way, way better than that. Also, Halloween H2O sitting at a 51 right now.
A Rodriguez favorite.
It is. And last but certainly not least, a Jacob Hopkins favorite.
Oh, I like this.
Kuso.
Oh, come on.
Sitting at a 35%.
You can't throw that in there.
So
Kuso's some really nasty shit. And I mean, when I say shit, I mean literal shit.
There's lots of butt stuff.
For sure.
Isn't there something new that just came out, like Assholes or something like that?
Yeah, it's funny.
It's actually really good.
I'm sorry, is that your...
No, it's really good. Like
he loves it.
It's like, imagine like Kevin Smith and...
I'm out.
It's like it's some of the best written dialogue that I've seen in like a genre movie in a long time.
For something called Assholes.
It just happens to be about actual assholes, not people that are jerks, but assholes.
Yeah.
So
I read that review on your website. Actually,
Yeah.
Did you write that or was it?
that was that writer who's very talented actually came on board as a staffer for Modern Horrors, who still listens to the Sincast. He got introduced us for the first time the last time we were on the show, and now he writes for us.
We poached him from you guys.
Awesome.
We stole him.
Interesting.
Nice.
Man, we pay benefits and dividends like you are not expecting.
That is correct.
We're the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Giving it to me. So my underrated is It Stains the Sand Red.
Oh, okay.
Once again, a weird zombie flick. It wasn't meant to be like that, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a zombie flick where for the most part of the movie, it's 1 versus 1. It's just this lady trekking across the desert with this one zombie just following her over and over and over. Now, obviously, a lot more things happen than
I bet
that.
it was Imhotep.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. But it's other things happen. But I've never seen that concept before. So that's a good one. The Triangle. We've actually got that director coming on next week. I don't know if a lot of people have seen this one, so this could have easily been underseen as well. Found footage flick. I know a lot of people are already tuning out, but starts off very similar to The Sacrament. I don't know if you guys ever watched that one, which is basically a Jim Jones kind of ripoff.
Okay.
But then it goes in a completely different direction. I still don't know what the fuck the movie's about by the end of it, to this day.
Nice.
Yeah. But I just know that I kind of liked whatever the hell it was.
You know, found footage got just such a bad rap with all the Paranormal Activity
and that's
sequels.
the problem, right?
But there's so much shit that you can mine from that to make it especially effective in horror.
Yeah.
But I mean, they just
for
kind of bespoiled the name of it.
And the last underrated is Landmine Goes Click.
I remember you talking about this one.
Great movie. It's one of those weird movies that I'm like, every time I mention it, I'm like, yeah, what a good movie. No, I'm not watching it ever again, but super good movie. You should watch it at least one time.
You mentioned Landmine Goes Click in the last episode, and
I'm going to hammer it home until everyone watches it.
I went to go watch it afterwards, and I really...
You loved it and regretted it, right?
Right. Can I say I enjoyed it? No, I don't know if you can say you enjoyed it.
Or that you even liked it, really.
Yeah.
This is so much like the conversations after I have sex.
Yeah.
Was it good for you?
Yeah. I know.
I don't know that I'd say I enjoyed it.
Right.
Can't even say that I liked it.
But it was a movie that, like, when it starts off, you're like, oh, this is somewhat innocuous. What a fucked up situation, but kind of innocuous.
Right.
And then it like goes to absolutely another level.
It's got a second gear you weren't ready for.
It's second, third, and fourth gear that it goes to that you're like, oh, this is way, way worse of a situation than we thought.
I like that it answers the logical questions that your brain has for a movie like that, because there is an obvious question that you're like, well, is that how that's going to work? And later it addresses all those issues.
Absolutely. All right. So what are our underrated
I only
ones?
wrote down one because I was so incensed after I researched it that I didn't have the stomach for anymore. But the movie Fallen with Denzel and John
yeah.
Goldman is a goddamn 40 on Rotten Tomatoes.
What the hell, man?
A 40. I think that's a great movie.
That's the one
That
where
is
he
a
keeps
great
hearing
movie.
the tune keeps happening.
Time is on my side.
song.
That's a great one.
Elias Koteas gets executed
The
at the beginning.
spirit of Elias Koteas haunts and travels from person to person. Has a great ending.
I forgot all about that shit.
It's
I'm
a
telling
good
you,
movie.
man,
That
this movie
ending
is good.
Fucking amazing.
Goodman's in it, right? John
Goodman's in it.
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland's in it.
That was the year Goodman was in like 6 movies.
Yeah.
Like all in this like 3 months. It was like Big Lebowski, The Borrowers, like there's so many like came out in that one little thing. But
anyway, I was shocked.
That's ridiculous.
I thought at the lowest it might be in the 60s or 70s.
it's funny. When we did our actors Rushmore, somebody on Facebook came up and said a movie that I love that nobody talks about is Fallen.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
that's
there
an
you go,
epic
person who
Denzel
wrote
performance.
that.
Absolutely.
If you haven't seen it, I'd check it out. Especially if you like. I mean, I don't even know what Rotten Tomatoes is thinking on that bullshit. Because that was a highly entertaining film.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes, just the site. It just it doesn't have any aggregation.
No aggregate scores or anything. Those fucking dicks.
I have no idea what that algorithm was thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got another 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, and
Yeah?
this is probably higher than I expected, but it's Death Note.
Yes.
I'm gonna go out there on a limb
Again?
for Death Note. I'm not out on a limb with liking The Exorcist.
No, but I thought you already talked about Death Note and liking it.
Oh yeah, maybe a little bit.
I think
Shots fired.
we have discussed the that before, but
I didn't hear it, Barrett. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. But I think, and again, I went into this without having known the manga. I didn't know really the context of it. I just know like Adam Wingard and looked like a good concept, and it is so much fun. Like if you watch it without any preconceived notions, it's a fun horror movie.
Yeah.
It's lighter than you think. It's funny at times. And I think it's an enjoyable thing. Now, I understand all of the controversy surrounding it, and I definitely am sensitive to that. But just as a movie, just on the face of it, I like it.
yeah, this isn't like, I think I may have even mentioned this the last time you talked about this as well, but this isn't like Dragon Ball Evolution where you don't have, like, I had no idea going into Dragon Ball Evolution any of the, like prior history or anything. Just watched it. And it was shitty, and it wasn't, I was like, yeah, who cares? And like, I can see why people hated this, but people were adding like some extra hate on that movie because of their sort of attachment to Dragon Ball Z.
Yep.
And I was like, I can't add that that extra, fuck you to that movie. With Death Note, that's, it seems like a movie that potentially is pretty good.
Yep.
Is being shit on by people who have an attachment to the originals.
It's almost just like the Amazon novel review story that you told a minute ago, where like this movie hadn't been on Netflix for 30 minutes before it was sitting at like a 2 on IMDb. Just people spamming the shit out of the review system over there. It's a really good movie.
Death Note and Death Threats.
I don't know shit. Yeah, and I don't know shit about the manga or the anime or any of that stuff either. But I think that's what kind of proves that it's a good movie, right? That like it was its own thing, it stood on its own, and us that don't know anything about it enjoyed it. Like I think that's the proof is in the pudding. On that one.
Exactly.
I went back and tried to watch the anime or manga or whatever the hell the correct terminology is, and I just didn't enjoy it. So like for me, that movie is made for people like me. I'm guessing because that was for a way for me to enjoy what you enjoy in the anime. That I'm never going to enjoy otherwise.
The
So I think
correct
you should
term
let
is manga-me.
whatever the fuck you said.
So now you've got the what's wrong with being white shirt on.
You want it back, Barrett?
It's so nice of Barrett to share.
Yeah.
My movie has a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5.0 on IMDb, and it is that reboot essentially of Blair Witch that came out last year. I was
Another Adam Wingard thing, right?
Yeah, it's another movie that I did not. And again, we talk about expectations a lot. About what you're feeling, how you're going into a movie, a lot of times means just as much as the movie itself. I was not expecting shit from this Blair Witch, and I watched it and I was like, man, I kind of like how this movie goes. It's playing with time and stuff like that. It's like, and it's shot really well. Like it's beautiful. Right. It's. Like, when they came out with Blair Witch Book of Shadows, like, it was amazing looking and everything, but the movie itself was just garbage.
So fucking terrible.
Yeah, and it's where I started to form my idea that I think that horror movies just shouldn't be beautiful. Like, I feel like they should all be grungy and like dirt on the film and like a weird kind of like coloration and everything. But this one, I really got into it, even though it's really well shot and everything. I just love how they went and what direction they went with this movie. I don't know if I'll have to watch it again. Obviously, I don't know if it was just that particular time I watched it, but I was like, man, I dig this. This is really good. So,
is it a sequel or is it a whole different universe?
I didn't love it.
Really?
Yeah. This is a sequel. So I guess the whole idea is like they find the footage of the old people. I guess the homeboy's sister was in the original,
which doesn't make much sense either because it's like 18 years later,
right? And he's still
and they're
18.
Yeah, and they're 18. But
not bad at all though.
No, it's not bad, and that's the point of the underrated that it's it's not necessarily that it's great or anything. I may have said great, but it's it was better than I expected it would be. And this Callie Hernandez is in a lot of stuff. Like I don't know if she's going to be big or not, but I've always liked her in everything that I've seen her in. So I think, this is a good movie. So
cool.
I think it was good. All right, we're going to go on to our underseen.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode with these guys about underseen horror
you guys
movies.
have done a lot of underseen already. But in your world, this has got to be a challenge. What is underseen?
So again, I'm going to echo one of what Jacob already said. Was it stains the sands red?
Mouthful.
Super cool movie. We might have talked about this one last time we were on the show, but now it's readily available on Netflix. The Wailing. Out of South Korea.
That's the hardest part.
Super good. Spring, which I've already talked about once. Demon. Get ready for this one. Dude Bro Party Massacre 3.
Yes! Awesome! What the fuck? Tell me there's not a 1 and 2.
There is.
That's awesome!
I was about to say, this is that one that doesn't have two others, right? It's just
When we first got that movie,
already.
we're like, where's 1 and 2?
This sounds kind of funny. Like, why haven't I heard of this before? And it's like, oh, okay.
They pulled a Leonard Part 6 on there.
It's really, really funny. And then another movie called Hounds of Love that was making the festival rounds earlier this year. Really heavy shit, more like a captured woman, slow burn rape movie. And like, I don't think you ever want to put slow and rape together.
Right.
So this is a really...
There's not a lot of things I want to put rape together with.
I mean, even fast.
I mean,
Maybe
if
the
you had
word
to put
anti.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just a really uncomfortable watch, as you might imagine. Another one called You Are Not Alone, which is a POV, not found footage, but point of view. Like you're living in the protagonist's mind throughout this movie.
Mm-hmm. Super cool.
It just a really this is one of the few movies that I watch. It's an ultra low budget flick, but after I watched it, I went downstairs and I made sure all my doors were locked because I was legitimately creeped out. I was like, that's fucking scary. And we don't use the S word often.
Yeah.
Fucking scary movie.
I did that after The Good Dinosaur.
These bitches can come from anywhere. And then one last one, which it kind of felt weird, like it belonged like in the year 2002 or something, but a movie called Tell Me How I Die. Which is like I swear to God, I still think it was, I think Monty actually interviewed the film director.
They did.
And he's like, because it just felt like it was in the same vein of like Halloween H2O or something. And he was like, yeah, I actually wrote it in 2002. And it feels like that. So if you want to watch a movie that feels like it was written in the late 90s, early 2000s,
Everyone's
but
lining
has
up.
modern production values, Tell Me How I Die.
Fair. My Underseen, Trash Fire.
Yes.
Available right now on Netflix, so there's no reason for it to be
It's
underseen.
actually called Trash Fire.
Trash Fire.
That movie is
we can watch that
bold
one.
because if it sucks, then every single review headline is going to make Trash Fire.
Exactly.
Now, you want to talk that off on a tangent a little bit. We did get a movie called The Disappointment Room.
Oh, yeah.
And then Luke watched it and he comes back to me and goes, aptly titled.
I just didn't understand. Like, even when I got the press release in, I was like, the reviews literally write themselves if this movie sucks.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
Yeah.
But Trash Fire starts off as a comedy and you're like, oh, we're going to have a good time. And then by the end of it, you're like, it's not funny anymore. Zero funny happened.
Wait a minute. Did I see this?
You mean you
I
watched
did
this
see
one?
this.
Yeah. I mean, you had that long movie marathon.
Yeah.
That one was pretty good.
Yeah.
They Look Like People. Also another super budget one. This one's one of those weird ones that you're not sure if your protagonist is crazy or not. Are this really happening or is totally in the mind? I really kind of stuck in one location for most of the movie, but super effective at what it does. I'm not sure if that one's available on Netflix or not.
I think it is. It's on something. Yeah.
So look for that one. Patient 7. I love anthologies, but they don't always hit home. Patient 7 hits home on almost all of them. And my last one is a French movie done in English for a budget of I think it was $100,000. It looks like it's $1 million. Horsehead.
No, it's 40,000.
40,000.
Yeah.
My bad. I overestimated hard.
Stupid.
So yeah, it looks like $1 million, but with the special effects and everything, super cool film. If you're into Barrett, I could see you being into this one because it's like, this whole dream thing and the horse being the nightmare and all that. The painting. Are y'all familiar with the painting, The Nightmare? Where it's got this weird white horse head coming through curtains and the demon sitting on that lady's chest. So it's actually based around that painting.
You know, the last time that you recommended a movie, it was Deathgasm.
Yeah, and you loved it, right?
I fucking love that
was
movie.
some good
So
stuff.
I'm on board with you guys' recommendations.
I'm going to give you Horsehead. Then.
Nice.
Horsehead's a little different.
It's a little, it's not quite as fun, but...
I don't think there's ever been a movie made like Deathgasm.
Deathgasm.
Yes.
All right, so I'm not recommending this movie, but I am secretly. It's almost like sudden death. But for my underseen, I'm going with Wrong Turn 4.
Yeah.
Bold.
Now, I
picks.
believe
4.
there are at least 5 or 6 movies in the Wrong Turn franchise.
5 or 6 more past 4.
Yeah,
you mean.
Probably.
Yeah.
The first one was Eliza Dushku. I remember that hitting theaters. It's about some backwoods cannibals, and I remember it not being very good or well received. Somehow, they kept making them. And it's like, it's jumped back and forward in time to different times in this cannibal family's
When
life.
I saw the first movie, I thought, this is a movie that needs to jump back and forth in
I
time.
know, seriously. Although I say that every time I see
There's
a
so
movie.
much more to cover here.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a group of teenagers. You've probably never seen any of these actors in anything. They find this abandoned insane asylum in the middle of a blizzard on the top of some mountain, because that happens all the time. And in there are the three cannibal brothers or what have you. They're also like deformed. They're basically that thing from the Goonies, only they also eat people alive. It's so bad. But there's something about, I don't know. I don't even think it knows how bad it is to where I can give it any credit for that. But there's something enjoyable for me about. I've praised these movies before. Just for they're trashy, but I can't stop watching them. I don't know what it is.
Franchise has a following. It's
It does.
wild. It's got a following though.
Yeah, and
get it.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
don't either.
it's not like there was a dearth of like movies where teenagers got into cars and went into the country and ran into horror stuff.
It's not like it was filling a gap.
Right, like there's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's Cabin Fever, there's like a million of these movies.
All the movies.
Right. So why does Wrong Turn like tap into the Zeitgeist or whatever?
I do not know.
And I think they actually might have gotten in trouble, if not on 4, maybe on 5. So some
for using actual people's pictures?
stupid production mistake. Like they used a picture, like some picture in the background of a house that they walked through or something, like just photographs on the wall. Well, they happened to use the picture of a woman from like a legit like missing poster, like that they found like in the real world. So like her family's watching this movie and sees like their missing daughter or whatever like in this photograph. Raises a fit, and like it got pulled off of Walmart shelves and recalled because his family was fucking pissed.
Wow. I don't know that I'd go that far.
Yeah.
Well, now she lives forever, right?
I guess. Anyway,
In Wrong Turn 4.
Definitely an underseen movie. I think more people have seen 5 than have seen 4, if I'm honest.
Possibly so.
Well, 5 just fucking outpaces 4.
It does, in almost every way.
So good.
My underseen. Okay, so I'll give a little shout out to the Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man, which is definitely underseen. Got such a bad rap, but I've talked about that before. A couple of fairly modern ones that came out. I like horror that's really self-contained. Like you don't have to have like universalist ramifications for all this stuff.
Yeah.
So one that takes place just in a kind of a tiny town is The Crazies. Came out in 2010.
The remake of
exactly.
Yes, it's very good.
It's got Timothy Olyphant and Rhoda Mitchell in it, and it's just fun. Like it's just like how many different ways can we make this town freakish?
Yeah,
and that's kind of like a thing that Stephen King can do. Like when he does like Needful Things or things like that, just set something, or even just set something in a tiny town and watches it so slowly disintegrate. And The Crazies is really good, but my real favorite is The Strangers.
Oh yeah,
from 2008 with Liv Tyler in it, and it's just such a creepy fucking premise.
Luke Wilson?
And
No,
that was
was
Vacancy. That was Vacancy.
That's Vacancies.
But it's got such a great premise that they're literally picking on this family, this couple, because they were home.
Oh yeah.
And that's like the creepiest fucking thing ever. They've got these great. It's
Great trailer, and
terrific,
the movie follows suit.
It's got a legitimately, and there's things that just always unsettle me, and like slowly moving knife piercing is always just gets me, and that's got that.
And then later, The Purge sort of just kind of like glommed off of The Strangers. It became its own thing essentially after the first Purge. But the first Purge is The Strangers.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Pretty much that.
You're in luck, Barrett. You're going to get a Strangers too.
Oh, really?
It's coming.
Wow.
Pray at night.
I can get behind that. It's got a weird cameo from the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Is it Glenn Hansard? That comes in, and it's got a wonderful use
Glenn
of
Howerton.
Glenn Howerton.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And it's got a wonderful use of like, okay, they have cell phones. Why can't they get out of it? But there's always like low power and no reception and things like that. And I love it when you can throw that into an explanation to say there's no real easy way out of it.
Yeah. I have 3 listed on underseen. One is The Mist. A movie that either you are going to be in love with how it ends, or you're just going to hate it.
Yeah.
And there's no other way to say it. If you haven't seen The Mist, you're either going to love the way this ends, or you're going to hate it.
I love
Oh,
too.
yeah, that's great.
Big
I
love.
love too. I also put down Wolf Creek, a movie that I actually don't remember very well, but I do remember enjoying the movie. I know it's an Australian horror film.
Same
and
guy from Belko Experiment.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
And,
Yeah, Liam Neeson.
yeah. It's totally Liam Neeson. I guess it's these campers who run into this dude who's out in the middle of the country and everything, and he's really nice to them. He's like giving them all this stuff, like, you can stay here for the night and all that. And there's a point where like one of them jokes, and this is the one image I remember from this movie. Somebody makes a joke, and it's just him staring at them like, that's not funny, for like, it seems like 5 minutes. It's like one of those things like, you just said the wrong fucking thing to this dude.
Yeah.
And you don't even know, it wasn't even something that you would have known not to say and everything. So it was actually pretty good. The other one, I know a lot of people in this room has seen it, but You're Next is another one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie somehow manages to be, somewhat of a tense thriller, but also funny.
Yep.
And you don't get that very often. Like, this movie is set up to be like, oh, we're going to take this very seriously and everything, but it's got comedy all the way through it and everything.
I love it, man. You can totally. Isn't that Adam Wingard
It
too?
is.
Yeah,
I mean,
Adam Wingard's
lot
going to
of
come up
love
a
on this
lot in
episode.
this.
Chris is a fan.
That was right in the
Yeah.
Mumblegore, unfortunately named Mumblegore
it is
stuff, right?
unfortunately
Yeah.
named, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so there's other movies we haven't mentioned that, like Silence of the Lambs. I'm sure that, that could have probably gone into one of our lead-in
Mhm.
as far as like best or favorite or whatever. I don't think people generally consider it a horror movie. Kind of like Seven, which is another one we should talk
Yeah.
about. Both of those.
Seven's horror as fuck.
Yeah,
Luke.
absolutely. Both of those
No,
are more.
I'm not saying it's not. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, if Seven came out today, like in 2017, like, we'd get a press release about
Oh,
it.
for
Like,
sure.
it would fit into the quote unquote genre.
I'm telling you, the big blade strap-on thing mess with me.
Mess with you.
Yeah, yeah. Mess with that.
Mess
poor
with
woman
her, too.
Yeah.
I think where you officially, it's all the deaths are horrific, but I think where you officially get into horror movie territory is when it gets to the sloth victim. That's where it really is, where it kind of has that pedigree. But movies that are like procedural, thriller type of movies, it's hard to quantify them as horror movies a lot of times because they're mostly it's mostly cops trying to find the bad guy type of thing.
Like Kiss the Girls.
Like Kiss the
I remember
Girls.
that. I remember that Kiss the Girls trailer. It cracks me up every time because Ashley Judd's like, there were walls, there were doors. And I'm like, so every place ever then?
Right.
Man, she's good at remembering where she escaped from.
That was awesome. The original Dawn of the Dead. I know a lot of people hold that Night of the Living Dead in high regard. I don't. It just goes too along with your zombies, right?
I don't give a fuck about any of that. To be honest.
But Dawn of the Dead and its remake are really good.
I really like the remake.
I like the
Probably
remake.
better
Yeah.
than the original.
And the original Haunting, which a lot of like your stuffy movie critics will talk about because of its use of sound being very just awesome in the way that they create scares through sound and everything. They obviously came out with one in 1999. It wasn't very good.
Fuck that, man. Lily Taylor.
Piece of shit.
Owen Wilson gets decapitated by a fireplace.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It was. But I'll never forget Hollywood 27. We had that thing in all three of the biggest auditoriums. It slam packed the entire.
Oh, it was huge.
Entire thing.
Yeah.
So unbelievable. And we mentioned a little bit of The Sixth Sense. That's another one that's kind of hard to quantify as like a horror movie a lot of times, but it kind of is. Evil Dead. We haven't really talked about Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Evil Dead I think it has gone from that first one was straight up horror. Evil Dead 2 was kind of both.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just tell me that Evil Dead 2 is a straight up horror movie, and I'm like, what
No.
the fuck are you talking
No.
about? Army of Darkness definitely isn't. Then there's stuff like Zombieland, which is another one that's more comedy based and everything, even though it's got some horror stuff. Creepshow is another one that Stephen King wrote the screenplay for and then is actually in and everything. He has got a segment. It's one of those anthology movies or whatever. I just never forget Stephen King like going out and like because a meteor's landed in his backyard and he like puts his fingers in some goo or whatever and he's like meteor shit. Stephen King playing up the redneck really well there. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think of like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th?
So it's weird, man. I like Friday the 13th. Like I think any of these things, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Hellraiser, all of these things just got beaten to death.
They sure did.
Pretty quickly. Actually, I think most of them, once you get past like the first 2 or 3, like they fall off really, really quickly, especially Halloween. But at least Friday the 13th stayed fun the whole time. For whatever reason, I could never get into Elm Street. Like the first one was cool, but after that, like it just got kind of ridiculous, and I've never really connected with Freddy or found him to be scary in any way.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, Nightmare on Elm Street can put on the sort of the air of being a comedy a lot of times because he's just wisecracking and all that. But I mean,
that's the weirdest part because he should be one of the most terrifying villains ever. Because I mean that's you could do anything with him. Yeah, and they missed the mark completely on that remake.
That's why I think there's a lot of yes, they did, but I think there's a lot of room to do something really fucking scary and really good with like a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. Still, I mean, it's a child rapist that got burnt alive and comes back and haunts kids in their dreams. That's terrifying. You know, like that should be really creepy stuff. It just wasn't for me.
I also had Scream written down in my favorites. I love Scream. I don't really like any of the sequels after that though. Scream 2's got some moments in it. It's better than all the other stuff that came after that. Scream 3's not good. Scream 4, which was everybody got excited about because so many people were going to go in on that, and Kevin Williamson was back to write it and all that, and it was just not good at all. Any other ones we haven't really touched on?
No.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, horror is probably the biggest genre there is.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yes, Vampire in Brooklyn. That's a good call.
Interesting. It kind of itches a little.
That's a good call right there. John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're also doing a Mount Rushmore of movie villains. On this one.
Movie villains or horror villains?
Horror movie villains.
Okay. Well, that's even better.
I think I just said movie villains, but it's horror movie villains because we have modern horrors here.
Branding.
So, that's right, branding. They don't know anything about anything else anyway.
No,
it's so true.
I was gonna say, it's pretty close at this point.
They have no opinions on non-horror movies ever.
All right, are we going to do 3, 2, 1, and we're going to have 5 people?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
5 people.
Shit.
I'm dying.
Who do you think will be up on the horror movie villain Rushmore? So after I count down from 3, everybody says it.
Have you guys know what we're doing?
No, I don't.
Okay, he's going to go 3, 2, 1, and then you say the one horror movie villain you think is a lock to make the Mount Rushmore.
Gotcha.
Fair.
And we just see where all of us are at the beginning.
All right, so I'm going to do the 3, 2, 1. It's 3, 2, 1. Hannibal
Right.
Lecter.
Oh.
I don't think anybody said.
We're all different.
Nobody said anything.
Okay, I said Dracula.
I said Hannibal Lecter.
I said Freddy Krueger.
So I had Xenomorph.
I said Jason.
Nice.
All right, we got our 5.
Who did you say?
The Xenomorph from Alien?
Oh, yeah, the Xenomorph.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Xenomorph.
All right. Out of all this group,
No, I do have some of these on my list. So
out of all this group, what are we going to talk about first? Let's talk about Jason. Let's talk about Jason for a second.
Well, to be fair, I didn't actually have him on my Mount Rushmore of horror. I just figured he would be a lock for your Mount Rushmore.
Interesting.
Ooh, you
reverse
played
psychology.
You played like a different kind of like level. What kind of game you were playing there?
He's on a game show right
That's
here.
right. Yeah,
That's true.
it's like game theory.
Game theory is what I was thinking.
Exactly.
You know how I like my Jason? I like my Jason in part 2. The one with the
bag on the
bag
head?
over his
Jason?
head. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like that.
That's a good one.
He looks
I like
more
mine
like-
in 2009.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Same.
well, I like him in space.
Oh, that mask.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Jason X or Jason 10, as a lot of people like to call it. Well, okay. So, what makes Jason terrifying then? What is it that is it really just the hockey mask and he says nothing, or is it?
I don't even know if he has to. I mean, of course, I think at some point in our lives we probably all thought it was scary at some point, but I don't even think I don't think like Mount Rushmore status necessarily needs to be like how scary you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like what you did and what you've achieved. I think that franchise achieved so much, not just for horror, but for slashers, has influenced so many other movies throughout time. And think about all of the merchandising, all of the stuff that is just like, you can't look at a hockey mask the same way, like a fucking hockey mask.
It's,
you know,
if you did this question in the 80s, you would get Jason, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and Leatherface.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
would be, and then maybe Pinhead would get some love, but he
Which series is Leatherface even from?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But yeah, you might get a little love with that. But those 4 were the ones that I always like when I was growing up.
Yeah.
That's what everybody talked about was Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street.
I'm sorry. I think if we're fair, one of those guys is probably going to have to be up here on our one we're building today. And I would probably end up leaning more towards Freddy.
Got a great Mount Rushmore face.
Well, and I just feel like, again, you're talking to somebody who grew up in the 80s and 90s, never watching any of these Jason, Freddy, Mike Myers movies. I didn't see any of that shit until I went to college. And by then, what had worked in the 80s had kind of aged enough that I was like, I don't know. But I always thought Freddy was the most iconic of all of those film series villains, at least from my exterior perspective of not being a fan of any of them.
Yeah.
It may be the fact that, unlike Michael Myers and Jason, and even Leatherface, I guess, he's the only one that talks.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that's true.
That's part of it, I think. I also think, at least in the late 80s, there was a point where they made more of those movies than any of the other series.
Maybe, yeah.
Or at least it felt like they had. I don't know.
Oh, it all felt pretty bad. Yeah.
But I guess, I mean, if I would immediately disqualify Jason just by the fact that I'm pretty sure that the people who made Friday the 13th Part 2 and on, where he's in them, was basically copying Michael Myers at that point.
It really is.
I mean, everything about him was.
So there's actually it goes deeper.
Yeah,
this is my Denzel Washington moment. It gets deeper.
Okay.
So there was actually a movie called The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Good one.
Which predates all this shit.
Yeah.
And, like, the killer literally wore a bag on
Better
his
bag
head.
head.
There you
It
go.
was a better bag head in the
Better
whole
bag head.
Texarkana murders, and actually kind of was based on a true story at the time.
Was it another Ed Gein thing? Because a lot of these
No.
killers are like
No.
patterned off after Ed
Just
Gein.
some random
Hannibal
killer, dude.
Hannibal Lecter was, Leatherface was, a lot of these were, but no, the Town of Dread Sundown guy, as far as I can tell, like, they were just, oh yeah, that's pretty scary. We could use a bag on our head too. And
Yeah.
that's what they did.
Yeah. Okay.
It's cheap.
Interesting.
Just goes to show, anytime you think you've gone far back enough, there's always something
Let me ask you, though, then,
that predates it.
is that why they stopped using the bag and went to the hockey mask? Because there was some kind of behind-the-scenes pressure?
I seriously, I think that all that happened in a time where no one gave a fuck about like IP management or anything. So, like, we own the bag, son. Take it off.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is behind them finally coming up with a hockey mask on that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Michael Myers thing because that was the
Shatner.
William Shatner mask.
Well, I think Hannibal Lecter is a great choice, too, because he exists in Anthony Hopkins' portrayal across 3 different films, and he's fantastic in all of those. Red Dragon, again, has been playing a lot lately, and I've been watching bits and pieces of that, and he's every bit as good in that movie and Hannibal as he is in Silence of the Lambs. I think.
Yeah.
It's just that the rest of the movie doesn't come up to his level. But then you also have Mads Mikkelsen, who played Hannibal Lecter on the television show from Brian Fuller. It was fantastic. He was awesome. And so I do think it's an iconic, scary as fuck character that deserves true consideration.
And possibly the only one that's won an Oscar, too.
Interesting. Hannibal Lecter himself won an Oscar?
Yes.
I don't think Robert
Yes, he
Englund
did.
has won any Oscars.
No, he hasn't.
I actually, again, on that movie details subreddit I told you about before, I saw a thing today about Hannibal Lecter where he does the line about, I ate his liver with some fava beans and some Chianti or whatever, and the person had broken down, but like microbiologically, that those things are all deterrents. They would fight against whatever medication he
Meds,
might be
yes.
on for his disorder that was making him want to kill people.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
So he was effectively off his meds through the choice of the
See, now,
the
I
meal
wonder if
items.
that was a conscious choice by the screenwriter or if it's just a coincidence. It is an odd pairing to have while you're eating somebody's liver.
As
one does.
Yes.
Yes, when I eat liver,
Right.
I would
Somebody's
not. I
liver.
did not go with those.
I love how he says that because he's like, and a nice Chianti instead of Chianti.
Right.
Like he's got such this weird, like, mid-Atlantic but European influenced dialect. I fucking love that character.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I would totally put him up there.
Right. Who else was mentioned?
Well, I'd like to see a fucking head of a xenomorph on the side of a
Oh my
Mount
god!
Rushmore.
Oh my
A little bit
god!
of challenge involved with carving that.
But
I
you
mean,
have to again look at the impact this fucking thing has had on films, horror films, sci-fi films. We've got 4 original Alien movies. Then we got Prometheus and Covenant. We got
And-
2 Alien versus Predators.
Yep.
Ooh.
Aliens have fought Batman in the comics. The alien head skull is at the end of the second fucking Predator movie in the
Oh, yeah.
spaceship.
Yep.
I just think there is a huge, enormous impact
And
of this
just
character.
just as famous as just the H.R. Giger creating that the way that thing looks and everything is legendary too. I mean, that's one of the coolest villains there's ever. I mean, a mouth inside another mouth.
Sexy.
That extend,
How does it work?
Yeah, exactly. That extends out of the mouth and is like, you thought that I was as far as I could go, but guess what? I got the extender mouth now, motherfucker.
Mouth.
This was on yesterday. I watched part of it. I still don't understand why that fucking Ian Holm android decides. Now, granted, I guess he's been hit or something, and maybe his chips are malfunctioning. But he goes, the best way to get rid of this woman who's a problem to me is to roll up a magazine,
and
shove it down her mouth.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of disturbing, though.
Incapacitated, laying there on the table, and instead of a knife breaking her arm, suffocating her, he goes with I'm going to take the time to roll up this magazine.
Right.
Be extra menacing.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
I would
disturbed me
like
as
to
a
know the
child
story
watching
behind that
it.
too.
It was weird. I was like, because that was my thought process. Like, why didn't you just kill her some other way? And then I was like, this is a really messed up way to kill an individual.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like there's some sort of purpose, like maybe some symbolic type of thing going on.
She's been running her
there.
mouth too much.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Some bullshit.
See, the Xenomorph
Maybe
has been
the. Well, go ahead.
okay, I was thinking it's been in horror. Then it went into the second one. It was very action. And then in the later ones with like the Covenant and Prometheus, it's been in like this weird sci-fi drama. One could even argue that the Alien versus Predator is comedy. So.
I would argue that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's seen some action.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen that? Have we talked? I don't think we talked about it on the podcast. That fan-made Batman short where it's like the guy that played Boner on Growing Pains plays the Joker. Bear with me. Plays the Joker, and he's fantastic.
Oh, really?
And Batman basically fights against the Joker, and then some predators show up. And he's in this alley the whole time. He fights the predators, and at the very end, Xenomorph shows up. If you guys haven't seen this, I'm going to send the link later tonight.
It did not go where I thought it was going.
It kicks ass, especially because he's fought both of those things in the comics before. But it's actually made by like some stunt coordinator who actually works in Hollywood, and he was making it as like a video calling card to try and get directing jobs. You need to find that link. It's awesome. I'll send it.
What was the other one that we mentioned?
Boner.
No, I said Dracula just because.
I've got Dracula on my list as well. So
But I don't even know
Holy
how we
shit.
do that because he's been through so many different. Which Dracula are we putting up there?
Just
is
the
it
character,
Christopher.
I think.
What is his name?
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee. Is
Bela
it?
Lugosi.
Yeah. Is it
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman?
What? Wait,
Dracula.
you not down with drug addicts?
Just not a. Yes.
Well, yeah, he's like, hold on, let's clarify some things.
You're talking to a guy that has a xenomorph bong, so I'm down.
That shit. Okay, dude. I'm just gonna tell you that shit should be something I know as soon as I meet your ass. If you're gonna put your dick out there on the table with your girlfriend and
Right.
show her this fucked up shit, when you got to tell me about the alien xenomorph bong. Like
Yeah.
within 2 minutes of meeting me.
No kidding. Yeah, I mean, as far as absolute influence over many, many, many years and everything, it's hard to argue against Dracula
Mm-hmm.
and any of the iterations that we've seen over the years. I mean, there's always somebody trying to reinvent that genre. It's like
There's always a Dracula 2000.
yeah, there's a Dracula,
Dracula Untold.
Yeah, Dracula Untold.
Well,
yeah.
and you could argue that
Dead and loving it.
everything from Buffy the Vampire Slayer to any kind of vampire, you could probably argue owes itself to original Dracula.
That's probably true. Yeah.
And I think that's saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though we got Dracula Dead and Loving It, we got Dracula 2000. Was that the name of the movie? I think that was the name of the movie.
Yeah. Who was Dracula in Van Helsing?
Oh shit.
Oh shit.
Because
Nope.
did they even
'Cause I
show
know that
Dracula?
Hugh Jackman was Van Helsing.
Yeah.
Blocked it from my memory.
Anthony Hopkins was Van Helsing in the Coppola version. But I don't remember who.
Dracula in Van Helsing. That came out in what? 2000.
2004. And
So it was probably somebody
it
who was
was
on 24.
Richard Roxburgh, who was in Moulin Rouge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Duke in
interesting.
Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue against that, but I would also come up with a couple other villains here.
All right.
Norman Bates.
Yeah. Nice one.
Although maybe perhaps just not nearly as influential as others have been. I mean, sure, he's creepy in that first Psycho, and I've heard some people like the other Psychos.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
But Norman Bates is terrifying as well. Someone who, again, he looks very normal and would never harm a fly and all that.
And acts very normal.
Yeah, and everything. And then something breaks in him, and he becomes his mother, and he stabs women in showers. And stuff like that.
So we put the Anthony Perkins or the Vince Vaughn verse?
Yeah.
Fair.
I mean, should we... I guess even more so than Jason, should we consider Michael Myers?
See, I've got Mike on the list, but I was torn.
I feel like strength of schedule on that one. I mean, he's obviously an icon as well. But,
Right.
God, some of those movies are really bad.
I think zombies just in general should be on there. Like mileage may vary, but I mean, like, what has had more movies than goddamn zombies?
What about? And I'm gonna get some eyes rolling at me on this.
I'm
one.
ready.
I understand that. What about Jigsaw?
Fuck you. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's
Basically,
especially as far as modern is concerned.
yeah, and birthed the whole torture porn, subgenre basically. And I understand that's obviously not for everyone,
Right.
But it's for enough people to get fucking 10 movies out of it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
so
Still happening.
it's there.
Well, of all the, I mean, there hasn't been very many movies that have been that successful.
Yeah.
But of all the ones that came out in the past 20 years, there's only one real recognizable villain in all of those. Like Paranormal Activity, it's always some demon ghost.
yeah.
Toby.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was actually kind of trying to think of that because like you don't get villains in horror movies, like not like iconic sort of like character villains anymore.
Yeah.
You
I
got
wonder if-
Insidious Darth Maul, though.
Yeah, but even he was just
Right.
there. So I think of like the Collector that
Right.
was there,
Mhm.
Jigsaw, Victor Crowley from the Hatchet franchise,
Yeah.
Art the Clown from Terrifier that's happening now, and Ghostface from Scream. Which
Yeah,
to a
yeah,
lesser
That's a good
extent.
one. That's a good one.
But like villains just don't exist like too much.
That's
these
true.
days.
I guess, though, modern example, Pennywise.
yeah,
But
there's
just
one
just,
though.
just happened though. I mean, if he comes, if we see a bunch of these movies over time, maybe he has a chance.
He's fucking terrifying in that movie.
Yes, he is.
What about Satan?
So let's talk about the devil's advocate some more.
We never do that.
We never talk about
That'd be
it.
hilarious in a horror movie.
Wasn't
Phil
that
in Mount Rushmore, we put
Pacino?
Pacino's
Yeah,
face.
yeah. I'm a fan of man.
I'm a humanist. Maybe the last humanist, Kevin.
I think we may have already picked our Rushmore here.
All
All
I
right, well,
think
let's put Lecter up.
Lecter's there.
Let's put the
the
Xenomorph,
Xenomorph
up.
is there.
Yeah.
And then what else are we?
What
else are we
slasher
talking
one
about?
that we're gonna
The
pick?
Freddy Krueger's there,
Freddy Krueger for iconicness.
Mhm.
That's fair.
and
Got a Kid
Dracula?
Diddler up there.
and Dracula. I think Dracula's
Yeah.
got to be up
I
there.
feel like so.
Do you
Those
think,
Hammer films,
do you-
man.
if we're putting aliens up there, what about Bruce the Shark from Jaws?
That'd be awesome to see.
I never knew my
You shit yourself as you walk past it.
Yeah,
You
man.
Fucking shark,
A shark and a xenomorph there? Hell yeah, man.
Well, we've got our genres covered though, because we've got with Freddy Krueger, we've got slasher films. With the Xenomorph, we've got sci-fi horror. With Hannibal Lecter, I almost said Hannibal Buress.
Yeah.
Slap him up there.
He has a whole joke about that, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
With Hannibal Lecter, you've got like horror procedural type of thing. And the last one, if you put Dracula up there, you've got all the vampires and all the supernatural stuff.
And Jaws can be using his side fins to massage the
Indeed.
shoulders.
He's
Freddy Krueger.
He's definitely using his fins to massage everybody.
I'm fine with that Mount Rushmore.
I
like it.
mean, that was a quick Rushmore, but you'd be hard pressed to come up with another horror movie villain that can crack that top four, or at least has a strong case to knock anybody off. I think
Mm-hmm.
so. I
Yeah.
like it.
I
Let's
agree.
do it.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Should we do some cues?
Yeah, let's do it.
I am listening.
Put your cues in my aids.
Ooh.
Ooh, that got really, really bad.
I need protection.
Just putting the Q in my A was one thing, but you said AIDS.
I
Put it in your
said AIDS. As though I have multiple. I have multiple assholes.
Oh, okay.
I mean answers.
Fair.
For a minute there, I was like, there's that South Park where they have Jared before we knew how much of a creep
He's
he
got
was.
AIDS.
And he's like, how did you lose so much weight, Jared? And it's like, I have AIDS. And he's talking about people who help him, but he never never ever corrects it. He never corrects it. Like everybody's scared of him and everything, and he's like, "What the fuck? I have AIDS. Who cares?"
Everyone has AIDS. All right. If you were a cop in a movie where you had to pursue the protagonist down for crimes they may or may not have committed, what movie character would you definitely not want to pursue? Sub-question.
Whoa.
Alternatively, what famous movie cop would you not like to have on your tail? Why don't we start with Luke?
So wait, am I the guy running away?
First one you're chasing, then the second one you're running.
First one you do not want to chase.
Can you read the question again?
If you were a cop in a movie where you had to pursue the protagonist for crimes they may or may not have
want
committed,
to chase?
who would you not want to chase?
And then who do I not want to be chasing me?
Correct.
All right, I'm ready. I'll think. You guys go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, so I actually, as much as I didn't like the movies themselves, not like them, but like not as much of a fan of. He's on Rushmore now, so I would say Freddy Krueger would be the guy that I wouldn't want to chase because if I ever see him, I'm in his world playing by his rules at this point, so there's no way I can catch him.
Yeah.
Now, from a non-horror sort of perspective on the second part of the question, John McClane. I don't want that motherfucker chasing me because he will stop at nothing over the course of 30 years. He's just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to make another one.
Oh, shit.
Like legit?
Legit.
Like the son of Die Hard?
It's going to actually be half modern day with Bruce Willis and half flashback to rookie year of John McClane on the street in the 70s in New York.
Is he going to be played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
So this is Looper.
I hope so now. With weird CGI prosthesis.
Jacob?
All right, let's see. So I stuck with cops, like movie cops, I guess, for my answers. I don't want to have to pursue RoboCop because what the fuck am I going to do when I get there? Excuse me, Invincible Robo Man, you're under arrest. Like, that's not going to work. And that dude has no qualms with shooting people. So, no thank you. And the one I don't want chasing me is Nicholas Angel, Simon Pegg's character from Hot Fuzz, because, I don't know, did you watch the movie? Dude's got skills, and he is relentless. He goes out to, like, the quietest, most calm town in the world and still finds trouble to get into. So there's nowhere to hide.
No,
if you ever fired your guns in the air while saying "ah,"
I don't want to chase. I don't even know if I know the name of this movie.
Oh shit!
Oh, it's deep cut.
Was it Hunted? With Benicio del
Toro, Tommy Lee Jones, and Benicio del Toro.
Because Benicio del Toro is like a military-trained survival expert.
Yeah, tell you what, if you cross that line, you're gonna have to kill me.
Some sweet ass.
But he's also like lost a marble or two, and so he's out there killing, but unstable, and in his element in the woods. There's no way I'm going after that fucker.
Absolutely,
and just leave him,
right? And
he got away.
And then I guess I kind of would like to do a hybrid. This is cheating, but I kind of would like Jake Gyllenhaal from Zodiac for his determination.
Yeah.
And Danny McBride from Pineapple Express for his lack of ability to die.
Yeah.
Because if you had a detective that was those two things mashed up, you're never going to stop running. Right? It's like that. It's like sneakers. You get out the car now, you'll never stop running, or whatever he says.
That is like one of the most underrated parts of Pineapple Express is the fact that he just will not fucking die. Because every time you shoot somebody in an action movie, they're just falling over dead.
Yeah.
And this guy keeps him back.
He's Danny McBride. He doesn't
There's
do
even
that.
a moment in that bar at the end where he shot with a machine gun like a dozen times, and he still goes to Denny's at the end.
Yep.
All right, well, I got to go with Jason Bourne. I don't want to fucking track down Jason Bourne. I mean, the guy can do
You are 9 hours
everything.
behind the toughest target you have ever tracked.
Exactly. I mean, he can fucking disappear if he wants to. He can, if you do find him, he will kill you with literally every single... With that straw, he would find like 5 different ways to kill you.
Yeah, actually, the only way to not die in a hand-to-hand fight with Jason Bourne is to be in a completely empty room. Because if there is a teapot, an ink pen, or a book, you're dead.
Yeah.
But if there's nothing, you might stand a chance.
A felt pen! A fucking magic marker!
And then the cop that I don't want to pursue me is Rama from The Raid.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
oh, Jesus.
That's right.
I mean, the guy
Jesus.
fucking destroyed his life in the second one. Like, just said, fuck it. I'm just going in, and this is going to be my life now, and I am not going to stop until I get to the very top of that thing, man. God damn, I do not want to fuck with that guy.
I want to watch that kitchen fight again right now.
I do, wonder if Rama went after Jason Bourne in hand-to-hand combat.
Rama
what
would
that
kick the
look like.
shit out of him.
Yeah,
He really would, right?
Yeah.
Unless there were a lot of like tchotchkes around.
Depends on
like he's grabbing Hummels and stuff like that.
depends on what movie it's in, right? If it's a raid movie, he fucks up Jason Bourne. If
Yep.
it's a Bourne movie, Bourne wins.
Yep.
So-
Yeah, Bourne kills him with a Cabbage Patch doll.
He finds that one weakness that nobody. Yeah, exactly. You know what? There's actual real life consequences to chasing after John Doe in 7.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
there is.
yes.
John Doe. We've actually seen what happens when you chase after John Doe in 7 because he will cut your wife's head off and ship it into your partner in a box.
That is so fucking heavy.
Yes, it is.
It's impossible, but it's heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as like dedicated, obsessed cops, Vincent Hanna from Heat, Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Oh, good call.
That's a guy who's like he's like said fuck it to his entire personal life to go after you if he's on your tail.
Yeah.
And he does not. I mean, that's the thing about Heat that's so relentless is him just chasing after this guy the entire time.
Yeah.
He never lets up, and he gets upset when someone like doesn't see where De Niro is and everything. He's like, I just talked to Macaulay half an hour ago. And so yeah, that guy is dedicated, man. He didn't want to do that.
What prompts that? It's been a while since I've seen it. What prompts that diner meeting between him and
He just
De
wants
Niro?
to talk. He wants
Yeah,
to pick his brain and see if he can get a read on him.
Yeah, because he knows, or he just wants to get him. I got
And
you.
there's a lot of like, I know that he knows that he can't, blah 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 blah. Like, De Niro pulls over because he knows he's not going to get put in jail for
Right.
anything that he's doing there.
Right.
And so he's able to talk freely to him without worrying about,
Well, and doesn't that moment come prior where they're in the middle of a heist, but they hear somebody in the police van across the street and abandon the heist and
Yeah.
walk away?
Yeah, yeah.
So if they didn't get arrested there when they knew they were being watched, I think that's why that scene's so cool, is that it shows kind of Pacino's desperateness, but also, that's the one moment where they kind of begin to respect each other. They're on opposite ends of the game, but they're really the same person.
Mm-hmm. Did we ever get a definitive answer on whether they were actually there? Because wasn't there like a rumor that they weren't actually in the same room?
I think there's
Well,
a shot with both of them.
No, there was a funny thing. There was a funny thing that happened on one of the movie channels, or I can't remember if it might have been IFC or something way back in the day. That they wanted to claim that there wasn't really any shot of De Niro and Pacino together in the movie because the entire diner scene is cut back and forth
Oh, in
between
two
the
shots.
two. And there's never, and even the shot where it's both of them, it could be a stunt double or whatever, or somebody just kind of like hanging out. But so that was the sort of the fun thing they did with it. They were there in the same scene.
Yeah.
It's just that there's really not a shot of them that you can see clearly both their faces.
There is the Irishman, and Scorsese's working on that.
Yep.
And Pacino and De Niro and Pesci are all in that.
Yep.
That should be interesting. Well, unless it's Righteous Kill. But if we get more of a Heat, then
Guaranteed not to be Righteous Kill.
I would have to agree. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, next one. This is a very local. We're all local boys around here. What lesser-known aspect of Nashville would make a good backdrop for a film? What do we think here?
Yeah, so this one was kind of tough for me because I don't actually live in Nashville.
Oh.
But I do spend a lot of time here, and when I was younger, I used to skateboard up here all the time. There's actually a pretty big skate scene in Nashville. I don't know if you guys know that very much.
Oh, I'm totally down.
It's like you guys are. But and me coming from a horror background, I've seen everything turned into a horror movie with almost every B plot you can imagine, except for a skateboarding horror movie. And I actually follow a lot of directors on Instagram and social media, and there are a lot of skaters out there, talented skater guys, out in LA being so cool and skateboarding, that make really wicked horror movies. I would love to see that get born and mashed up together. I think it would be really, really cool, and in a serious way, not like a goofy I'm killing people with a skateboard kind of way, but just sort of to take that culture and turn it into a horror movie. I think would be really cool.
They did make Gleaming the Cube, which is kind of a horror movie.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Gleaming the Cube was a Christian Slater movie back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Where he was like a detective or something.
On a
I don't
skateboard?
know. All I know is a kid.
It was a big skateboard movie.
I've seen a couple of skateboard movies. One was Lords of Dogstown.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or Lords of Dogtown?
It was
Lords of Dogtown, I think.
Lars
yeah,
von
Lords
Trier,
of
right?
Dogtown. Yeah, Lars von Trier. The fuck? Totally. I'd actually watch that movie. That would be amazing.
I got one. I know
Go
if
for
you
it.
want to think. Radnor Lake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the first time I ever went to Radnor Lake, I wasn't buying it until I got there. And it really is this Central Park-like nestled little nature preserve in the heart of just south of downtown. That feels like you're nowhere near a city of a million people. You can't hear it. You can't see it.
Yeah.
Nature's we saw wild turkeys and deer and eagles and all kinds of cool animals, but it was dead. There was we saw one other jogger. We were there for 2 hours.
Huh.
I guess it depends on which trail you take. This was the middle of the day, like 2 p.m. A weekday, one of the most popular spots in all the city. And I just feel like because it's so different from what's right outside it, and it's so empty, you could do some murdering up in there.
Yeah, man.
And then maybe even do something to jump it to outside at either in the beginning or the end, so to give us a different perspective of like some kind of urban chase or what have you. But I mean, if I hadn't been there with my wife in the middle of the day, I might have been a little creeped out.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great place.
Man.
I think that very few people know about Printer's Alley. And
I was thinking about that one for mine as well.
Oh,
But I didn't go with it. I didn't go with it.
I didn't take yours. Printer's Alley is such a unique aspect of Nashville, and it's gone through a lot of changes over the years.
Yeah.
The iteration that I know, which doesn't really exist anymore, is when it had Bourbon Street Blues and Boogie Bar, it had Lonnie's, and it had like a whole bunch of like other different little, like karaoke places and stuff like that. But the look of Printer's Alley is so unique. I can't really even describe it. With the Bourbon Street Blues and Boogie Bar being there, it did have sort of a New Orleans feel.
Yeah.
Especially, and then they had Brass Stables. Which
Yeah,
is
the Brass Stables strip club, man.
Which is a strip club, too.
Yeah.
So it had a New Orleans feel going through there, but I don't think very many people when they go to Nashville know about Printer's Alley. They know about Broadway, and they'll go hit the honky tonks and everything, but there's this little alcove around Church Street that you can go down and get into some really different shit.
My favorite pub of all of Nashville is in Printer's Alley in Fleet Street.
Oh yeah,
love Fleet Street.
Yeah, I think I've been there one time.
My fave.
Yeah, but they've started doing different stuff in there, and it's going to be completely different by the time I'm done talking. But but that's what I think of right off the bat because it's such a different little alcove.
That would be a great place for one of those like Richard Linklater before movies to take place or walked out. You know what I'm saying? I could see Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy having one of their conversations walking through Printer's Alley and checking out some of the vendors and whatnot.
Man, when I was growing up, like in the early to mid 90s, it was still synonymous with strip clubs because it was the Brass Stables, and then there was a couple more in there, at least one more.
Oh, really?
And it had the reputation for the strippers doing things that other strip clubs would not do.
Yeah, right.
Little extra here.
Yeah. Extracurricular
which to my
activity.
teenage ears were just like, oh my God, I want to go there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Man, that is a fast road to herpes.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Movie title.
real quick, Boys in the Trees does have a little bit of skateboarding in it. That's horror.
That's true. That's true.
Netflix, not like full blown skateboard movie,
Yeah,
but it's there.
yeah.
So just quick little shout out to that.
That ain't real shit though.
Fair. There's no kickflip ollies in that thing. What are you talking about? So The Villager, you guys have been to The Villager, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I've had
it is.
many nights at
see,
The
there
Villager.
you go. It is the skinniest, narrowest, smokiest.
Oh my God,
Little
smokiest
bar.
is
still
right.
smoking?
Yeah, dude, I think it still is.
Yeah, it's grandfathered in, I believe, and it's,
You go in, you have to like part through the clouds.
it
swimming.
really is a wall of smoke when you come in.
It's like this weird dart place where you just go play darts. But anyways, it just strikes me as either a place where you're going to run into some creepy serial murderer.
Yeah.
So I think it's perfect for that. Or B, if you want to go a different direction, very kind of Tom Hardy The Drop-esque kind of location. So I feel like you've got some options with this seedy place, if you would.
Yeah.
Very good.
I've
like
got
it.
another smoky spot.
Oh, I love smoky spots.
This is a really unique place in Nashville called Santa's Pub.
Dude.
And
After you finish, I got a story for you.
Nice.
So Santa's Pub is literally like a mobile home that they parked out a little bit south of Nashville, very much a little bit south of Nashville, where it's Christmas all the time.
Yes.
It is also very thick clouds of smoke in there. They've got karaoke running all the time, but they have certain rules about karaoke. You can't curse, like you can't smoke on stage, and then something else. And it's run by a guy that looks like Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most unique places. Cash only, beer only, and it just blows my mind.
That actually sounds like a horror movie to me.
It's pretty
Even if
horrific
no one
out
gets
there.
killed.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
that's true.
horrific. So the only time I've ever been out there was from the Villager of all places, right? So we connect. Because everyone, it was like my birthday, and I was just going to hang by myself at the home because the wife was out doing something. And then my buddy texted me, he's like, birthday, you coming out? And I was like, nope, hanging home. He's like, oh, come out. I was like, nah. Then I was texting the wife. She's like, yeah, you go out. Because he's like, dude, we've got to go to the Villager and drink a dog bowl. Are y'all guys familiar with this? So
I'm familiar. It's disgusting.
Apparently you drink out of this very used, very gross dog bowl on your birthday. It has to be on your birthday. And she responded with, everyone does a dog bowl on their birthday. I was like, oh, all right, fuck it. I'll go do this fucking dog bowl. So I do this dog bowl, get super wasted because I don't know how much beer's in it. It's a ton.
Yeah.
It's very demoralizing. Next thing I know, I'm at Toots. But then next thing I know after that, I'm at Santa's Pub. I still don't know how I got there. I still don't know where it's at. I just know I was there. And I woke up the next morning. I was like, dude, I feel like shit. You guys are assholes. And I was like, all right, next birthday, you guys are doing dog bowls. And they're like, we've never done a dog bowl. I'm like, you son of- literally, I talked to like 4 or 5 people. They all said, yeah, everyone does a dog bowl. None of those fuckers had done a dog bowl.
I wouldn't either, man. I would never touch that shit.
Oh my
that's
god!
messed up.
Yeah, and it's like become this sort of Nashville rite of passage to drink. I have drank from the dog.
Have you really?
Yeah, it's not.
It's demoralizing.
Fuck that. But it's become this rite of passage. Like you got to do it. And somebody stole the dog bowl. It became a fucking story.
I remember that.
Shit.
They got it back.
Yeah, and they got it back. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but yeah, you they put the beer in this dog bowl and it's like scratched up and it's all like
It's got like permanent marker signatures in the bottom.
right. It's got visible amoeba and it's just not.
It's a
cool.
good time, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
time.
Visible amoeba.
You guys want to do one more?
I got one more, me.
Fucking do it.
All right. Imagine you're going on a road trip and the vehicle has a TV/DVD player. Or if
That's
you
hard
have
to imagine.
a minivan. You each bring a movie that you absolutely love. However, when you play it, you slowly realize everyone else in the vehicle is not interested. What movie did you bring?
Ocean's 12.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
I brought Wrong Turn 4.
Yes. Ocean's 12 is a movie that has, I believe, been unfairly shit on. It is a movie that is so over the top and knows it's stupid that scenes play out in such a way that as long as you know that, you will enjoy the movie. It's so meta.
Yeah.
It's so like Julia Roberts is essentially playing Julia Roberts in a scene. Matt Damon tells Bruce Willis that he figured out the secret to the sixth sense in one scene. There's the Vincent Cassell dance through the lasers.
Yeah, that part is awesome.
The whole thing is just ridiculous. And they know it is. And you know that they went to make that movie just because it was in Europe and everything, and they wanted a vacation and all that. They did it for all the wrong reasons. They did. They got a movie. They did a movie that was stupid, and for some reason, when I watch it, I cannot be turned away from
That's crazy.
So
Interesting.
So I have impeccable movie taste. So it was really hard for me to figure out one that no one would like.
Indeed.
That I enjoy. So I picked a genre favorite, maybe, called The Greasy Strangler.
Ooh, I've heard of this.
Yes, Elijah Wood's company backed it. He likes to back some unusual products, to say the least. And this one is one that's I've tried it with a couple people. I've tried to put it on, and I'm ready. I'm ready to laugh and have a good time.
Perfect pick, man.
Yeah, and they're just looking at me like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm just like, "No, wait for this part." And this part happens, and they're like, "No," and then, well, hold on. There's about to be a massive prosthetic cot just hanging on this old man. They're like, "Okay." It's such a weird fucking movie. We watched it at a film festival with a crowd, and that's almost the way you have to do it because it's so outlandish. But we still quote it. We're just like, "Am I doing it right, Janet? Janet, am I doing it right?" See, lost on you guys, but us. We're having the best fucking
You guys
time.
are locked
I'm
in.
having a
Really
great
locked
time
in.
right now. Yeah, I would take a movie called Headless.
You would, you sick fuck.
Oh my God, I've heard of this. I already know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when you guys are all weirded out and you don't want to pay attention, all I can tell you to sell you is that you have never seen anything like this before. I can promise
and it's
you
questionable
that.
if you want to see it.
That's true. But if you want to see some shit you have never seen before, you will turn your head to the monitor and continue watching.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, you sold me.
You probably. Well, the thing is, you probably don't want to say what's in this movie.
So a funny story. I was actually talking about this movie whenever we were doing a conference appearance. We're doing a panel, and I talked for a good, 6 minutes about skull fucking for a while. Literal skull fucking. And there was like 11-year-old girl in the front.
My God.
Like it was supposed to be an 18 and up panel.
We specified it was at the Geek Media Expo.
Oh my
GMX.
God.
Yeah, we specified, hey, we're 18 and up just because we can't filter. We're sorry. And this girl walks up to us and was like, hey, I'm 11 or whatever the hell she was, way too young. She's like, I was just wondering if you guys had movie recommendations that maybe my parents would let me watch. And I'm thinking, not that fucking one. What the hell is happening?
Yeah. I mean, Jeremy has a similar story. He was talking about skull fucking at Wizard World.
As you do, welcome.
Okay, I mean, it seems like I'm always talking about skull fucking at the wrong time.
Well, Wizard World was not
I
where
really
you
want
do
that
it.
to be the cold open, by the way. Mine is okay. So my dinner, very, very changing directions right now.
Yeah.
But I've tried to show people My Dinner with Andre, and a movie that I know Chris loves. I don't know about Jeremy, but it's literally an entire movie of two people sitting down and having a conversation. And some people think it's pretentious. Some people think it's too arty. Some people think it's just not compelling enough. I fucking love this movie.
It sounds arty. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It is. It is just a conversation, and I believe most of it's real, right? It's real life experiences he had.
Yeah. Andre Gregory.
Andre
right?
Gregory. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Real life experiences talking to Wallace Shawn.
Yeah.
And like now. I know when I watched this was hard to watch all the way through in the first viewing or whatever. But he talks about things that you just never ever think about, and in such a different kind of way that I think it's compelling because it's a different perspective. You don't hear perspectives like this very often.
Absolutely.
And a lot of some of the stuff that he says in this movie is prescient too.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a big deal back in 1981 when this came out, but it became that.
Yep.
You know, he starts talking about news media and stuff like that, and it's like, wow, he really nails this.
And the way that he goes about this is not pretentious. Like he believes in like his soul, exactly what he's saying about like, going out on this retreat in the woods and looking at this flower and that kind of thing, which sounds like, I'm already checked out. But the way that he presents it is just so authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's what draws it in.
Yeah.
Nerds.
Yeah.
Totally.
Exactly. So if I'm driving my minivan and showing you guys this thing, I'm going to lose you.
Yeah. Don't show it to the driver.
That's a good call.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I said Wrong Turn 4. I probably could say Horrible Bosses 2 or that Ed Helms vacation movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm on an
Or
island
Teeth.
for all three of those.
Or Teeth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't actually enjoy Teeth.
I'm on board with you on that one though.
We actually got a press release today for that guy's new movie.
Really?
What's it called? Molars?
Dentures.
It's actually a really tasteful period piece about ghosts.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a
You
hell of a
say
turn.
that now until one of the ghosts
True.
has vagina dentata.
That's right. That's just what he puts
Until
in
the
this movie.
protagonist tries to fuck the ghost and gets his dick bitten off.
That guy could just not get work anywhere because he was always trying to put vagina dentata and everything.
They offered him Batman, and he was like, "Can Batman have vagina dentata?"
No shit. They offered him a Frosted Flakes commercial, and he wouldn't be in it.
It's like a bit of rebranding of Tony.
Exactly. He just couldn't. Yeah, well, we all have stories. All right. That'll be it for this week. Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. Keep going to SoundCloud. keep going to Cinemasins Twitter, email us, all that. We've got
yeah.
a bunch of stuff. Modern Horrors, guys, pimp yo shit.
Thank you for coming. Now tell them where to find you.
So we are available mostly every single Wednesday on iTunes, SoundCloud, all the works, modernhorrors.com, Twitter at Modern Horrors, Instagram, all that shit that you follow people on. We're there as at Modern Horrors.
And
We're original.
And as I've said before, your website is as beautiful as they come.
Yep.
They're great. It's such a great layout on that. That's like immediately, I must read this.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Yep.
Luckily, most of the industry feels the same way. So even when we were first starting out, no one knew who the fuck we were, but they'd go to the website, they say it looks legit, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to give you our movie.
Oh, it's
Nice.
fucking legit.
Nice. Oh, yeah, it
They
is.
fell for it.
I've been posing this whole time.
Yeah, man. All right, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott Barrett Scher, Jacob Hawkins, and Luke Rodriguez. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I was playing poker the other night, and some guy started talking about, what's wrong with being white?
Oh, shit.
What's wrong with being a nationalist? What's wrong with being white?
Are you serious?
Yep.
Okay, no lie. Today, did you see the Jennifer Lawrence and Reese
Yeah,
Witherspoon both have stories about having been assaulted? And like I found the Jennifer Lawrence one on Reddit. I think it was on the movies subreddit. I swear to God, the top voted comment was "This stupid cunt."
Oh my God.
And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I read like 10 more comments, and they were all like she's in an industry where she has to look good, so she shouldn't bitch when they ask to see her body. And I was just like, I was horrified by the entire comment
This
section.
is our society.
Yes.
It is.
Lovely.
I think everybody at the table, like even to people who are right leaning when the dude said that, just kind of was like, so anyway.
That is just a dangerous conversation. What's wrong with being white?
Yeah,
Oh my
he went
God.
through this whole thing. Like, there's this thing about white nationalists, man. What's wrong about being white? What's wrong about, like, loving your country and shit?
Are
I was
there any
like,
black
dude.
people at this game?
Nope.
Oh. Well, that may be at least why
You
he
know,
said
this
it.
is a conversation he's had at his dinner table, like
He thought
every day
he
of
was
the week.
amongst friends.
He looked around. He's like, anybody a different shade as me?
Yeah.
All right, I'm good.
It's like that Family Guy where Stewie like goes across the entire world just to see if there's any black people around before he tells the joke. And then he's about to tell the joke and somebody comes out of a plant. He's like, "Are you talking about us?" By the way off topic, and this is going to be instant outtake. But I was over at this guy's house over the weekend, and he's got this like huge Pez dispenser collection. He's married.
All right.
And,
Be out of here.
and
Point counterpoint.
And he said like we were asking like, so I guess she's just kind of cool with this, huh? He said 2 weeks into dating, she saw all these Pez dispensers and everything, and she says, look, and all the comic books and all this other stuff he's got hanging around the walls. He's like, I'm not into this and never will be, but I like you, so so yeah, you gotta show this is who I am.
Yeah.
If you can't deal with it now, you're not gonna be able to deal with it later.
Isn't it the Ayn Rand School for Tots?
Yep.
Yeah, I used to fucking love The Simpsons.
No, yeah, me too. I was steadfast about watching every season too until about 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, you held on longer than I did.
Mhm.
It's one of those shows. I think I was at a restaurant and I saw it playing on TV and I was like, it just looks too good now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the shadows and the animation, everything is just so polished.
Well, it looks
like I don't
too
know.
good, but they also have started to go very lowest common denominator with a lot of jokes. And the timing and the like pacing wouldn't be right on their jokes.
Yeah.
And there's always that fun debate about when the Simpsons jumped the shark and everything. For me, and I kept watching after this though, it was when they went to Brazil. And the Brazil episode is just chock full of those, just the execution of all their gags, the idea of the gags that are in that. I mean, there's still some funny things too, but it's like this is like just not The Simpsons. Like a lot of this is just not The Simpsons. Like, you just wanted to go to Brazil and have this, different episode where they're not in Springfield. And
what season was that?
But The Simpsons take place in Springfield. I mean, that's what happened. Like, don't take them to Brazil.
Right. Well, and they were in the middle of all that. Like I think the Australia one was a big hit. So, and the Australia one's a good one.
Yeah.
But then it was like every year they had to take them to some new country or whatever. And Brazil was one. I think the Brazil one was either 9th or 10th season, something like that.
Clearly, I've not watched enough Simpsons.
It's on like season 49 right now. It's just there's too much other good content to hang on for.
15th episode of the 13th season. That's when that one aired.
Yeah. See, I think I stopped watching somewhere around 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was a good time to stop.
Yeah, and of course the best years
30 seasons ago.
Yeah.
2 through 8 were pretty gold.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
3 and 4 are probably the money.
Even season 1, as crude as it is, and how the voices haven't evolved yet, and all that, have moments in them where they just did some really great things with animation and storytelling and all that. I mean, they're not. It's not as good as what they would come up with, especially that 2 through 5, 2 through 6 stuff. That's where it was really good.
What was that early classic bit where it showed that Homer was like a terrible dad? He was like, "Let me dry those tears, son," and he points a hairdryer at him or something.
And it just shows Bart's skin and eyeballs. Yeah.
I will say the Simpsons have a gift for everything. Like, we've got a Twitter follower who, it doesn't matter what the scenario is, she has a GIF that is of The Simpsons for that scenario.
I used to say there's a Simpsons quote for every situation in life.
There is. When I was in high school, people, some of my friends were like, there's a fucking Simpsons thing for everything, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah just
much.
there's somebody would do something. I'm like, that's like that Simpsons.
Hey, Barrett, can you give me a little more headphone, please?
Mm-hmm. You could give me a little less and I wouldn't hate you.
Or just give him more head.
Ooh.
We don't do that here.
Sign me up for that.
We don't do that here when we're recording.
Otherwise, man, it's a fucking blowjob fest.
Not that you know, anyway.
It's a blow bang up in here.
Indeed.
Ooh, you're drinking NFL soda.
Yeah. It gives you concussion as soon as you drink.
CTE in a can.
By the way, they're not implementing that bullshit at all. Like the independent neurologist, because you'll see people just fucking staggering on their feet, coming on getting back in the huddle.
It's been that way
and
every year. They don't want to address it any more than they future lawsuit legally have to.
By the way, what happened with all the pink?
They've shifted it to now try and spread awareness of multiple kinds of cancers. And I think they even are going to let one weekend in October the players can just pick the cause they like the most and wear whatever color, I guess. I don't know.
But because there's definitely not as much. Yeah.
I'm good with that because there's a lot of other deadly cancers and not a big fan of the Susan G. Komen Cal.
Wasn't there a game where they used all pink flags and it confused the shit out of everybody?
Oh, yeah. I think so. They also did
the
first year they did that color rush thing a few years back. That one team was all in red, one team was all in green.
Oh, yeah.
And all the colorblind fans were like, what the fuck is going on?
Otherwise, he'd be all up in Chris's chin.
Sexy. Let's do that. Let's do that.
We have a 100% beard rate in this room.
Oh, fuck.
We do.
The testosterone is high in
and
here.
we've actually got 5 different levels of beard.
God, you guys sound so good.
good
radio voices.
You say that now, but later on tonight when you're listening to it and we're all robots.
No.
The gremlins are back.
Don't put that
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Voodoo on me, Ricky Bobby. And we haven't gotten is it excoriated?
Why don't you just say ripped?
Yeah, say some words I understand, motherfucker.
I thought it's either excoriated or
No, excoriated.
Excoriated?
Is right. Yeah.
That's correct.
I thought it was exoriate. I'm just kidding.
What's this classy level
I thought it was ripped.
talk?
I'm just saying there are not homophones, synonyms. Fuck. Let's not do grammar.
Don't be homophobic.
It's not a grammar podcast.
Nope. It's okay to go. Okay to go.
No, I hear. She says she's okay to go. It's funny when you Google best horror movie villains, Sleepaway Camp comes up.
Yeah. You ever seen that one?
I don't think so.
Pretty iconic. So the it's this little boy and girl, their brother and sister, to go to this camp, and people start dying, blah blah blah, and it's always like a who done it kind of thing. But for whatever reason, whenever it ends, when the killer is finally revealed, it's actually the little sister that's there, who isn't a little sister at all, because she's buck-ass naked with a decapitated head with a dick hanging out between her legs. And she's been
Welcome back, Jeremy.
she's been conditioned her entire life to think that she was a little girl when she hasn't been, and now she just fucking snapped at the summer camp.
Interesting.
Yeah.